Yeah, that ratio was particularly.
It was pretty bad, but
like what?
If you want to read about flat Earth books, I'm sure you could spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on books that are basically copy and pastes with word changes.
Yeah, probably. I'd rather just watch Paddington 2.
Hell yeah. I'm recording again.
Same.
Do we want to do 50 and 55?
Yes.
And I am better now at confirming every time that I'm recording from the right microphone.
Yep. Yeah. You just need to do it once to know.
But I also leave my microphone plugged in now. It's because it's mounted permanently. So
nice.
It never changes. Microphones never change.
Except when they do.
Except when Discord detects a new audio device. And
Discord goes crazy. Sometimes if I open it up, it's like, oh, we detect a new audio device. I haven't added anything. It's like, okay, sure, use it. Then it's like, oh, you confirm it. It's like, oh, now we detect a new audio device. And just like flip-flops between like 3 of them. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
You can't set a controller button to a push-to-talk key in the push-to-talk interface, but you can set it as one in the keybinds interface, which is like,
okay.
Why? Because I was playing Avengers with my friend, and we used Discord, and I wanted to set the right stick click to push to talk because I never lock onto enemies anyway, and I couldn't figure it out. So I was just like holding my controller over my keyboard and pushing spacebar to push to talk, and it's a terrible experience because Avengers goes, "Oh, you're using a keyboard now?" Even if you unbind the key, it still goes, "Oh, it's keyboard time. We're doing keyboards now," and then the controller kind of stops working for a split second, and then once you push an input on the controller, it goes back to working. It's not a great experience. Not really the game's fault because I'm interacting with a secondary program, but
at that point I would just use voice activity.
Yeah, the problem is just that since I don't really sometimes Alyssa and I make really stupid jokes that are about like nothing offensive, nothing that I would be I would be concerned that somebody else would think we're, bad people for hearing, but it'll just like one of us will like rip a huge burp, and then the other one will say like, "Shut the fuck up, what's wrong with you?" or whatever. And it's to the untrained
that's just
ear,
Xbox Live, baby.
Yeah, but if I don't want my friends to think that we actually have an antagonistic relationship, that's just like it's always a joke. And so yeah, we got a random person in Avengers because my friend didn't turn off matchmaking. And first of all, once we matched with that guy, it was like now he is the party leader, which was really weird. Second of all, he was using voice chat, so we were voice chatting with him in the game voice chat. And at one point he was like, if you hear me talking, it's probably just to my wife. He seemed like a nice enough guy. And he was like, yeah, she never leaves me alone when I play video games. But the second she puts a TV show on and I talk, then I'm the problem.
Oh, no.
We were like, okay, dude, chill out.
That's like some boomer humor level stuff.
And then, yeah, it was very much like the wife stuff. And then he was really nice the rest of the time. And I don't think he actually is like mean to his wife or anything. But my friend and I were just like side talking in Discord, like, what the fuck is with this dude?
All right, well, I'm ready to fill my pockets with beans and start recording this thing if y'all are.
Hell yeah.
I was literally just about to just start, and then you spoke. Hello, and welcome to episode 137 of the Gaming Fix podcast on this September 5th, 2020. I am your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite chicken chaser. I'm joined today by Alex.
I can't remember any characters from Fable.
And Pat is also joining us today.
There's the one in the arena, the guy you have to fight, Jack of Blades. What is his name? Something.
He's not in the.
Jack
he's like
Blades?
the big bad of the entire first game.
Oh,
Jack of Blades, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was some LV Gray? something gray.
Oh, lady, was there like Lady Gray? I don't know.
Man, Fable fucking
like
rules. Every time we talk about Fable, I'm like, I should install Fable. I should play that Lost Chapters Anniversary Edition.
I've got it. I should go back to it.
Game Pass,
actually play through it. Well, I own it on Steam, but that's good too. Hey, if you can play Fable: The Lost Chapters on Game Pass, you should play Fable: The Lost Chapters on Game Pass.
Fable is like one of the games that I look at and go like, kids today don't understand. Like you should have been born 10 years earlier.
Skyrim.
Skyrim is one of my favorite games ever. I understand that there's mixed feelings about it on this show, but Skyrim and Oblivion are and Morrowind are three of my favorite games ever. I might have fonder rear view of Fable because I haven't played it in a long time. Sure. Like Skyrim I've played pretty recently, and I don't think it has aged super well. And Fable probably hasn't either, but since I haven't played it recently, I wonder, it's like in my head, it's like, oh, Fable was just perfect. There was nothing wrong with Fable 1.
I think Fable just had a lot more. Yeah, Fable just had a lot more personality.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of agree. I think that it depends on the kind of personality you're looking for. I mean, so like Elder Scrolls.
They're very differing games.
Yeah, for sure. And Elder Scrolls is the kind of thing. Fable has more personality that's like easily accessible. Mm. The thing about the Elder Scrolls is that I've read like books set in the universe of the Elder Scrolls and like gone through the archives and read a significant chunk of the lore books from the first and second Elder Scrolls games, and I've read a significant chunk of the lore books in game and the other games. So I have a picture of the history of Tamriel in my head when I play those games and like know in time where the events are occurring. So to me it has a lot of personality, but that's just because I've done so much reading about that world, which the games don't really convey in their like actual plots.
But Fable's got fart jokes.
So. Exactly, yeah. And so Fable has the like on its face like silliness and fun. So yeah, great game.
Yeah, very good game. Game of that generation on the Xbox and the PlayStation 2 possibly.
It's up there. It's up there.
It is certainly in my top 10 of all time, but that's another podcast.
Oh, are we doing a top 10 of all time?
Oh, we could. We could knock that out right now.
Right now,
it would be a lot easier
for
the three of us.
Number 1, Star Trek Voyager Elite Force.
No, but that's probably in the top 100. That game's cool.
Back in the Power of Juju.
No, that game is not on the list at all.
No, it's not.
I'm taking Voodoo Vince before I take Attack in the Power of Juju.
Yeah, I don't know.
You both brought a game that I would not take over those, but it sounds like it's actually really good.
I like it a lot. It is perhaps. I mean, Andre doesn't like any games.
Really good is a strong way to say that, in my opinion. I am enjoying it. I am enjoying Marvel's Avengers more than I enjoyed the beta, which I thought was a steaming pile of doo-doo. And this is like less doo-doo and less steaming. It is a functional game that is, despite me having my misgivings, I have played through the entire story. I am still messing around with the post-game story stuff that pops up.
Post-game? You mean you're in the game now?
Yeah, the real Avengers starts here.
Exactly.
But I think there are a lot of problems with the game that I hope they fix. And I don't think it's like the most fun, but it's engaging enough to keep me playing it.
I think a huge part. So like generally I am on the flip side really, really enjoying it, but I also don't think it is a game that that you will enjoy unless you have a lot of I don't think it's a game that you will really enjoy unless you have a lot of reverence for the characters already. Because I think one of its strongest suits from the campaign perspective is the way that they cast and wrote those characters, because I think they did a very good job in that department, which is kind of wild to me because I was not expecting that to be the thing.
They marketed it so poor. They marketed those characters so poorly.
Yes, they did. the marketing really buried the lead on what this game's narrative campaign is, which is, you know, I'm not speaking to quality when I say this, but it has like a I don't know. I was gonna say it almost has like kind of a BioWare feel of like you're walking around the ship between missions and then you're hitting a table and you're going to do missions. It doesn't have dialogue trees at all.
It's like Splinter Cell Blacklist.
Sure.
Oh no.
I don't think Blacklist was that bad.
I've never finished it. Just played enough to get to the bit where you've got the plane and you can walk around on the plane and talk to people, and then you go to like a big satellite image of the Earth, and then you pick missions from it. It's basically the same game.
I think it's a pretty high quality story. I think the voice actors do an incredibly good job with the script, and I think the script itself is pretty decent. So there's a lot of stuff there to like. I think like gameplay wise, it is a game that I was thinking about this the other day. Destiny is the kind of thing where when you jump into Destiny, it instantly feels really good. Like it feels like, oh, I'm shooting this pistol and this pistol feels great to shoot. And I think one of the things that I've always struggled with Destiny is that sort of feeling is always present, but it doesn't necessarily change. Like it's shooting the guns always feel good, and certainly there's variety in the guns, but the verbs are very similar in a way that I think a lot of people get into some of the nuance in how the damages work and stuff. But to me, it's always you hold down the right mouse button, then you click the left mouse button. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I also play a lot of Modern Warfare where you do the same thing. So I'm certainly not deriding that at all. One of the things I like about Avengers is while the game doesn't feel as good as something like Destiny to play when you start playing it, as I go down some of those skill trees and look at the ways that you can expand the characters, and as I start to understand more about their move sets, it feels like they start off feeling very similar and then start to kind of diamond out as you, or I should say fan out, because I don't know that they come back together to a point, as you understand more about their kits, which I think is cool to me, and it makes it feel like there's some real variety there. So I think that's why I'm enjoying kind of moving forward and getting more powerful over time, because of that progression.
Who are you liking playing as the most at this point? We've both finished the story, so we both have all the characters unlocked.
I like, I think I still like Black Widow the most. I think she might still be my favorite. I don't love Thor. I need to play more with him. One of my bigger criticisms of the story narrative part of the game is there's two things that really bother. One that really bothered me, the other that I think just was a little disappointing. Because of the nature of reassembling the Avengers, you get certain characters so late that it doesn't feel like you're given an opportunity to really engage with them. And Thor in particular, to me, feels like they give him this really great introductory sequence, and then you just don't really see him as like a character you interact with for like the rest of the game, which was weird. I mean, he's there in the final mission, but I was kind of like, man, he's like one of my favorite characters, and he doesn't really. What's funny is he has a fair bit of dialogue that pops up from time to time post game. So it's not like he doesn't have any characterization. The person, I forget who does his voice, but like he's written as snappily and performs as well as the rest of the characters. But yeah, it's weird. So I haven't had much of a chance to play with him, but I like Black Widow the most, I think. And I like Cap well enough too.
Thor's iconic mission is pretty interesting and silly. Every character, once you get them, gets like an iconic mission and quest line to like get a cosmetic and maybe some gear for those characters, and kind of gives you a little story about them. So the Thor one is pretty interesting and goofy. I
started it I was playing with my friend. I would highly recommend, if you can, just play the single player campaign first before you jump into multiplayer, because it feels really disjointed to go from single player to multiplayer if you haven't finished the campaign. I knew what was coming in the story from well, obviously this is going to happen. Obviously this is going to happen because of what's on the box. But it pops a big warning that's like, there will be spoilers if you play Avengers Initiative before you finish the story. So we started Thor's iconic mission, and then my friend got disconnected, and then because we were playing with somebody else who kicked off the mission, and my friend got disconnected, and then I was like, I'm just gonna leave because I don't want to do this.
I did like the quick match, and I got matched with someone who's like, we're both like power level at 20 at this point, because this is a service game with loot, and you've got character levels for your skill points and gear score, and so our gear score was like 20, and then they started a mission that was like power level like 35. We couldn't do it.
It was
just silly.
I will say, as like one of the biggest complainers about gear score and loot grinds, I like how, and I understand that this exists in other games, so I'm not saying this is unique, but they surface the math pretty transparently, so you can kind of see that power level that gives like the sort of flat boost to stuff, it doesn't feel quite as arbitrary to me as it does in, like, for example, like I played Ghost Recon Breakpoint this year. That game, the number doesn't, I mean, they don't tell you anything about what the number means. It's just, and it turns out if you do the digging, it's like the number is literally just a number that has thresholds, and when you hit certain thresholds, then enemies at different thresholds do less damage to you. And that's even if your guns are like, your guns factor into that. It's not just an armor rating, which is real dumb. And I like that Avengers actually has like math behind it. It's a real, like, you do X number of damage per punch, and your power level affects that damage number along with other stats, which is cool. So I'm kind of liking that part of it, even though that was the part that I was the least excited about.
They also, I think the marketing did a disservice for this game with like the Kamala Khan stuff, especially with how they initially marketed it with like, here are all the Avengers that you already know because you've spent the last decade plus watching the MCU or whatever when they announced it, probably about a decade by the time they announced it. And then they have these people sit down, talk about how Iron Man wears a mask. Thanks, Nolan North. And then they've got like Thor barely like in the game, like in that main story narrative portion. And then Kamala Khan is the driving force of that. And it's just, she never shows up in like the marketing really, except like as a, like kind of a hint, is like a wink and a nod to like people who are really fans, but you don't get the sense of how important she is to the story, and
she's really good, and I like that they center her as much as they do, because she's portrayed really well. She's written really well. She has some genuinely like moving moments, I think, in that story. I personally liked the way that they didn't dive deep into her backstory, and like, it's present. They certainly weren't like shying away from,
I mean, this game is not built for that, really.
But I like that, and this is a thing that I think other people might criticize it for, and it's fine if they do, because I think it's reasonable. But I liked that it sort of assumed that you had read some comic books. That was like appealing to me as someone who has. So that stuff was really good, and she's just a really good character. And I love the final mission in that game is infuriating. I won't spoil anything. The final mission is infuriating. I was like raging out to Andre because I think it is like really poorly put together from a gameplay perspective. But
there are lots of missions that I think are poorly put together from a gameplay perspective.
The issue is, this is my biggest criticism of the game, which doesn't matter now that I'm out of the story, but there are multiple times in the game where they say, you're going to have to play as this one character, or you're going to be playing this one character paired with this other one character. And it feels like they didn't actually adapt the way they designed the combat encounters to the fact that you have specific characters. So like they will give you Hulk, who is good at fighting big enemies because he can kind of stand there and take a lot of hits. And he like does a fair bit of damage, but mostly his benefit is like he can just stand in the path of a flamethrower and get roasted, and he's fine.
Yeah.
And so you can use him to smash the big robots. And then they're like, okay, here's a big robot, you've killed it. Okay, here's 4 flying enemies. And it's like, why did you spawn these when you know I have the Hulk, who the only way I can deal with flying enemies is by pulling up chunks of earth and throwing them at them. And as all 4 of them are shooting at me and it interrupts my aim, it's like really frustrating to do that. It's not even that it's particularly hard, because you can usually just do some movement stuff and get into a position where you can kill them. It's just not fun. It's like, why are you breaking up the me slamming my fists into huge enemies with like flying drones now?
It feels like they deliberately designed some levels that are specifically meant for individual characters, like for Hulk or for Iron Man, and then they say, okay, Iron Man can fly, but what if you had to stand in this 6-foot circle?
Yeah, exactly.
And fight waves of enemies, and you can't leave the circle.
And it's particularly frustrating because there's a mission with Iron Man that fucking rules, that is solo early on, where they don't do any of that bullshit, and there's like really cool moments.
It's designed for Iron Man.
Yes, and if they had done that with those like sort of solo missions. So anyway, at the end of the game, you're basically 9 times out of 10 when they force you to play a specific character, I think it's not great. And there's 2 missions that I like. The Iron Man one and the one where they introduce Nat is pretty good. The Black Widow is pretty good.
Yeah, that one was actually good, yes.
Basically, like the missions where they introduce, well, the Thor one's good too. The missions where they introduce the characters are fine. It's when after that there's moments where they ask you to do missions that should be for 4 characters, and they have you do them with 1 or 2. And the final mission of the game does that multiple times, and it's frustrating as hell. And also the cool moments that should be awesome, there's times when I was like, what are we doing? Also, it popped a fucking tutorial in the final mission for how jump pads work.
Oh, I was like,
I've been jumping on these things for 20 hours. Of course I understand how they work. What are you doing? The
tutorialization is very strange and disjointed and oddly paced, and
but otherwise
it's all over the place for this game.
I think the story is really good. The only 2, I think there are like probably 3 or 4 missions that I didn't like, but there was only a couple that I found actively frustrating to play because of that. The other ones were just like, this is not fun, but whatever. And then once you get into the multiplayer stuff, I think the way the characters can interact is really cool. And the moment that I had that was like a marketing moment, I mentioned in our chat, like my buddy and I were playing and we had a big encounter. I was playing as Hulk. We had a big, huge encounter. There were a couple of big robots and then a bunch of smaller enemies. And we had 2 AI companions. The 2 AI went after the smaller enemies. My buddy was playing Iron Man, and there were a ton of flying guys. And I was like, hey, can you take out the flyers? And he was like, yep, I'm on it. And then he like jetted off into the fast flight and started circling and like killing the flyers while I smashed the bigger robots on the ground, and like Nat and Kamala kept the smaller enemies off of both of us. And it was really cool. Like it was that moment of like, now I understand why this is a multiplayer game. Because they really did make the characters good at doing different things, even if they don't feel radically different to play all the time. And that was really cool. So I'm excited to keep going with that stuff, and I'm excited to see what the sort of higher tier content looks like. I think it's going to be very repetitive to get there because the grind seems really long. So I think it's going to be a good one to watch TV shows with and stuff. But yeah, overall, I'm pretty positive on it, and really looking forward to see how they refine it over time.
Yeah, I am not hating it as much as, I don't know why I bought it, but I'm not hating it as much as I expected to. There are still performance problems on the PS4 version, but it's not unplayable. And
it ran it
on PS5. It'll be better.
I know that there's still people that have performance issues. My friend is not having a problem either. I think it's the PC performance stuff is the people who are having problems are really vocal about it, which is understandable and makes sense, and you should be. But based on the Steam score being pretty decent, I don't think it's as bad of a port as it initially seemed like it might be for a lot of people. But it's funny, it ran 60 frames per second really, really well until the final mission. The final mission that ran like ass for most of it. So I was like, I don't fucking know.
It sounded like, from what you guys were saying in the chat, that the final mission had lots of weird issues, just between like scripting issues and like performance issues. It's almost like maybe it was the first mission they made and then they didn't go back and optimize it or something. I don't know.
Well, there are issues. Like after the mission where I got Thor, after that the next very like important cutscene started and there was no audio and no subtitles. It's very buggy, but it's not buggy or broken in a way that is like makes it impossible to play. Like I encountered a bug where I couldn't open any menus until I finished a mission, and like I had a tutorial pop up stuck on my screen the entire time. I ran into a lot of issues like that, but it was nothing that made the game unplayable or really ruined it.
It's just polish issues more than anything.
Totally.
Yeah.
It has a lot of polish issues. I haven't run into any of that subtitle sound stuff. That's all been fine for me. I haven't been playing with subtitles. It sounds like the subtitles are terrible, like accessibility issue level of bad.
They're sometimes they're desynced or they differ from the game audio.
Yeah.
They leave stuff out.
Or they'll and like change the intent of the sentence too. Like I had them on for a little bit and it was like it almost, you could follow the story with them, but like it almost made it seem like something different was going to happen. And then they also have like placeholder text from development still on them sometimes, which is just like, it's unbelievable. Hopefully they get that shit fixed, because that's not good for people. Otherwise, it has some, from what I saw as someone who doesn't usually use those features, it does have an accessibility menu that has some good stuff in it. Like they listen to feedback and you can turn off camera shake and stuff like that. But you can turn off the button mashing QTEs if you want to.
That's good. So some of those are excessive.
So it has some good accessibility features in there, but the subtitles really need some work. But I have had issues where like I just can't hit the start menu sometimes for like a long period of time. It won't even, it'll be like in between missions, I'll be walking around the helicarrier and if I push start, nothing happens. I can hit the back button and pull up the like character menus, but I can't hit the like quit game start menu. And then sometimes if I go into the war table, it'll let me hit it while I'm in the war table. Sometimes I have to go load up for a mission, and then once I'm in the Quinjet on the way to the mission, I can hit start and it'll pull up the menu. So there's been a couple times where to like quit the game, I have had to, because I don't want to Alt F4 it because it saves at weird times. So I wanted to make sure I quit with the game's interface. And in the Quinjet, I had to like start a mission and then quit from within the loading screen for the mission, which is weird. I also constantly, you collect these comic books and they give you like, they're kind of like the closest thing the game has to like Paragon points in Diablo, where when you collect the comic books, you get a very, very small percentage boost to different things based on which set you're collecting, which is cool. It's a fun little like, oh, now I do 0.02% more damage with hero attacks because I found this issue of Thor that's the real comic book cover in an environment. But when I go into the collections interface, I would say at least half the time, I just can't load the images of the comics. So I have to, if I quit the menu and reopen the menu, it'll load them. But it doesn't matter how long I sit there. It just is a blank screen in the comic interface to look at them. So it has a lot of weird little quirks like that that hopefully will get ironed out.
I've had, so they've got their battle pass equivalent is per character. They have challenge cards, and every character that launches with the game has a challenge card, which I don't think, did we talk about? I don't.
Yeah, we talked about this
last
already.
week.
Yeah.
So anyway, the challenge card for Captain America, who I am playing mostly right now, who I have decided that I really enjoy, kicking that shield, like throwing the shield and kicking it around is really cool.
He also weirdly to me feels the most like a Batman from the Arkham games kind of character.
Kind of, but I feel like shield is normie.
Yeah. But I feel like you counter a lot more with him than with other characters. At least I do when I play him.
Yeah. I dodge more than I counter, but yeah. Anyway, so I've completed a few challenges, which are supposed to get you points, which then unlock things like cosmetics and currency, like premium currency and non-premium currency. I've completed multiple challenges. I've gotten no points on that card, and I'm not the only one. And also, apparently, people have bought used premium currency to buy skins, and then lost those skins.
Yep.
And the currency.
Yep. That's bad.
Yeah. So be careful. Don't buy anything in this game. If you buy the game, don't spend any like premium currency right now, because you might lose it. Like, keep it in your wallet.
Yeah. I would have to guess that they're going to find a way to roll those things back for those people.
They better.
Yeah. But I can't imagine that they're just going to be like, oh, whoops, that sucks. They seem, one thing that's encouraging to me is that in general, from the interviews that I've seen with team members and stuff, they seem pretty engaged. Like, they seem like they want to be here and they want to be talking to the community and improving the game. They don't seem like they built this because Sony or Square told them to, and then now they have to support it and they don't want to, which is, I think, really good, because it means that the post-game support should hopefully be pretty robust. And I wonder if in a year what this game will look like, for sure.
Hopefully better on my PS5.
Yeah. I'm really going to be intrigued to see how they introduce that Spider-Man stuff. I've gotten over the rage, and I'm starting to think they're going to put it all in everywhere. You're just not going to be able to play as Spider-Man unless you have a PlayStation. And that would
they say, like,
they say that can use him everywhere.
He's going to matter to the story.
Yeah, so I think they're going to have you play those missions, and if you have a PlayStation, you get to play as Spider-Man, and if you don't, you'll see Spider-Man swinging around in cutscenes, but he just won't be there in the missions themselves, and it'll be real weird.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, if they do it that way, that's fine. I don't give a shit about playing Spider-Man in this game anymore. The movement and traversal is not good enough for me to give a fuck about Spider-Man, because the whole reason I like playing Spider-Man in games is his swinging around, and that is not going to feel good in this game. So, because of the way they built the levels, so don't care. I would just like to not miss out on narrative content.
Well, speaking of narrative content, Alex has been playing a game not unlike Avengers, where a group of strong individuals come together to overcome overwhelming threats to the world.
Yeah.
The lands and its people.
Yeah, I've been playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2.
I was about to hum the intro to Superman.
It does start with
another comic property.
Yeah. No, I have been playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. Pat, you touched it too, right?
Yeah, I played through all of the objectives for the warehouse, and then played a little bit of the school. So I haven't seen that many levels, but I played it for, it was like a good hour or so. It turns out I suck shit at Tony Hawk now, so it took me quite a bit of tries to get the 100K points in the warehouse.
That is something I noticed also, that I'm not nearly as good at Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 or 2 as I was when I was like 9.
So I don't even think I was good then. I just think I thought I was good then. And
I think I spent a lot more time on those levels than
for sure.
I remember. Because and no, the thing you alluded to at the start is 100% correct. You start that game, and the first thing it does is it starts playing Superman. Like,
it's so good. It's
song.
Well, the first thing it does is it shows you the intro sequence with I think they're playing Guerrilla Radio in that sequence, but it's right. and the intro is so fucking cool because it uses the old intro. It's the old intro, and then they
4:3 and everything.
Yes, and then it fades into widescreen 16:9, and then they show all the old footage, and then they add in at the end all of the footage of all the new skaters, and it's super good. That intro video is cool. You should look it up, even if you're not going to play the game.
Really good, and as soon as it gets to that kind of press X to start screen, where it's like it's like it's someone holding a camcorder now next to the feet of a skateboarder, and it's just playing Superman. It's like, yeah, this is the most self-aware thing ever, and it's kind of amazing. Yeah, I also played pretty much all of Warehouse, a pretty decent amount of School, and a bit of Hangar from.
I can't wait for Hangar. That's probably my favorite favorite level in those two games.
The first thing I did was grind on that
helicopter blades.
No, not the helicopter blades. The what's it called? The propeller thing that lets you unlock the little warehorse door to get to the other part. And I was like, yep, that's exactly like it was before. And you could say that about a lot of this game. It is exactly those games.
Yep.
In all the ways you remember, in that like placement of the skate letters, and like if you're picking up the not comic books, like various things.
Hidden tapes.
Hidden tapes.
Yeah.
What are you picking up at school? It's not comic books, is it?
You wall ride the bells, and you pick up. Yeah, there is a pickup, isn't there? Is it textbooks?
It might be textbooks. I can't remember. You're picking up whatever that is.
Yeah.
Anyways, like, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's, it is a really weird exercise because it 100% feels like those games in every way, down to like the way it controls and handles, but it does look like a new 2020 video game. It's not like it's the best looking. I don't look at it and go like, holy shit, this looks incredible, but it looks really good.
It looks really good, yeah.
And it looks very on par with other major releases now. But I think the thing that it's weird how they added some trappings. Like, I want to say the shop is way more expanded and blown out than it was in those original games in terms of the amount of cosmetics you can buy with in-game currency. They have not yet added purchasable cosmetics with like any kind of real money currency.
A $5 DLC for some like American flag stuff.
Yes, I mean, like, they haven't put in any secondary currency that you spend.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll add more content, more cosmetics with DLC packs.
The Call of Duty endowment.
Yeah. They've got like a whole challenge system that I don't think was in the original game at all, where you like, it's like achievements basically, but they give you money that increases a profile level and all that stuff. But then like the skaters still have the same stat point systems, and you get more stat points by finding them hidden in levels. So it's so interesting the way that it combines those old mechanics with new ideas in the meta game parts. But Tony Hawk, I got the deluxe edition, which I probably shouldn't have because the cosmetics aren't that great, but it did include a really stupid Tony Hawk skin that makes him look like a total douche.
Really?
So that was worth it. He has like a brightly colored flannel on and dyed blonde hair. And it's in like a weird poof over his, like an emo poof over his face. Which I don't think he ever had that look.
Maybe he could have in like the 80s or something.
Maybe. It's funny.
I love it.
It's a funny skin.
But it's real good, dude. It's a wonderful game. I've tried playing the other remake they did, like 5 or 6 years ago.
That was bad.
And it didn't feel right at all. I tried Tony Hawk 5. It also didn't feel good, and it was broken.
Yeah.
And this it feels very much like you're back in the 90s and sitting down with your little CRT TV with a PlayStation or N64 or whatever you choose and playing Tony Hawk. Like, it feels like that.
It does the thing that the best remasters do, which is make it feel and look like what it was in your head then. Like, with those games, you have to kind of do a little bit of imagination, because like the original Tony Hawk Pro Skater, like the levels are really foggy, they didn't have a lot of detail and stuff. This game, it's like you go, oh, I remember this, and then you look at the old levels now and you're like, wow, the geometry here is the same in terms of the interactable elements, but the art is so much more robust in this remaster.
Oh,
but
totally.
it still feels familiar because it's the stuff that I imagined being there that wasn't there in the old games, which is really cool.
Yeah, 100%. I'm looking forward to playing a lot more of it. I'm definitely going to try and finish up both of the main campaigns. I don't know what you want to call them, but the tours, I guess.
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to use it as a sort of downtime game the way I was. Not that I will not go back to Trackmania as well, but I was using Trackmania as a sort of like, well, I finished playing Avengers for the night. I'm going to play this for a half hour before I go to sleep. I'll probably use Tony Hawk for that for a while because I'm not hungry to get through everything ultra fast, but I want to see. Yeah. I want to play it all again for sure.
Yeah.
And I like to practice getting good at it too.
Yeah, same. But yeah, like every level's like 2 minutes, so like every run, I should say. So
yeah, except for
it's made for that.
When you're trying to do a line to get a score challenge and then you bail on the first trick and you restart the run over and over and over again, then you've played the first 10 seconds of a run for like a half hour.
Yes, I have done that. Andre, do you have any interest in playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1+2?
Yes, I am a fan of the Tony Hawk games. I have a lot more memories of like I played 1, 2, 3, and 4, but I have a lot more memories of 3 and 4. I assume they'll probably add those eventually, but
yeah, 3 just for my memory, 3 had Canada, right?
I don't remember exactly what levels. I just remember playing them.
Yeah,
maybe. I think I played 4 the most.
Yeah,
and then I played like
too.
American Wasteland and
Thug.
I never played Thug.
Yeah.
I actually never played Thug.
I love Tony. I really hope that they remaster Tony Hawk. I actually don't need them to make a Tony Hawk 6. I think they should add the 3 and 4 levels to this game, and then I think they should do a remaster of the Underground games. There's a lot of humor in those games that was shitty and that would not translate well for today.
Early 2000 skater culture.
Yeah, and a lot of like Jackass type shit because the characters from Jackass were literally in those games. I think they would need to soften some of that stuff, which would of course lead to a lot of backlash from shittier elements. So I don't know how they would do it, but I would love to see them bring the Thug games forward. Because those games were so cool and like semi-open world. The levels were like semi-open world environments where you could get off the board and like climb things and stuff. It was cool.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I looked it up, and 3 did have the Canada level. I remember that specifically because it's set around Calgary, which is pretty close to where I lived growing up. So that's why it was memorable. Anyways.
1 has Burnside, which was in Portland, so that was always cool. But yeah, so it's something I want to pick up. It's not something I'm like chomping at the bit to play. Like it's good, so it'll be there. That's good enough to know it'll be there. It's not it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to take my time with it. I think
some games that might come out this year, it's not going anywhere.
We'll get to that.
We'll get there. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's something I definitely want to play, but I'm not in any rush. I've got so many other things on my plate that a trip down memory lane isn't like at the top of my list, but I'm glad it's good.
Yeah, I would say it's very good.
So Andre put a picture of Tony Hawk in our chat.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's his real hair or photoshopped on.
Oh, that's like his. That is him.
That is the exact hairstyle he has in this skin, like 100%.
So it is a reference.
He posted that on Twitter.
So yeah, then that's what that skin is based on. It's not exactly the same shirt, but it's kind of similar. He doesn't look that young. It's still the same model, so he still looks like older, which is I think
senior pick from 1986.
Yeah, that's what it's modeled after. Then is him in the 80s.
Yeah,
that's really funny.
He posted this on almost 1 year ago, September 7th, 2019. Senior pick 1986. My careers teacher berated me for finishing workbook pages that he hadn't assigned yet. He told me I wouldn't make it in the workplace if I didn't follow instructions. He was absolutely correct, and I am thankful for his indispensable guidance.
That is great. I love Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk is a national treasure.
If any, I wish that they had added more. Like, this is way too much to ask, and I'm not criticizing the game for not having it at all, but it would have been so awesome if they had added like commentary from Tony Hawk or something, or like. Yeah,
I did go through the tutorial just to see it, and he actually has quite a bit of voiceover in there.
Yes, he does, and it would have been great. I think it would have been awesome if it wouldn't have to be like full commentary, but even if they had just like at the start of every level, he had like a few lines of dialogue about like the level and how it relates to real world skate locations. I think that would have been awesome. Obviously, I'm not being critical of them not doing that because that's a lot of work. But he's great.
Who's your go-to skater?
You know, I made a skater for one, but I'm not really playing them. Props to from what I saw, props to the game. They don't gender anything in the Create a Skater. They don't gender like faces or hair or anything, which I thought was cool. I could be missing a slider or a switch somewhere, but it seemed like you just pick like a face type and you pick that stuff independently of anything, which I think is great when I see that.
I've heard that there are some secret skaters in this game. I haven't looked up who they are.
Yeah, I don't want to know. I want that to be a surprise.
Yeah, I would like to happen upon them.
Anyway,
yeah,
I've just been playing Tony. I need to switch because I like doing flip tricks more than grabs, and Tony's flip speed is not great. So I got to go through the characters and pick one. I was just kind of
Muska or something.
Yeah, I was just kind of kicking the tires when I did the warehouse level, and then got obsessive about finishing all the objectives. But when I was a kid and I played as Tony because I liked doing vert, air spins, and grabs the most. But now I'm more into the idea of getting good at like technical ground game and getting into like combo stringing and manuals and grinds and stuff like that. So I'm gonna switch it up and find somebody new to play. I might even try to like get into one of the new skaters because some of them are really cool.
Yeah, that's
what the fuck? I'm seeing Rodney Mullen is not on this list. I guess he came in the later games, like 3 and 4. He was my guy. He was all about like the technical, like the ground skating, whatever it's called.
I wonder if
I flipped between
Flatland.
Yeah, I flipped between Chad Muska and Bob Burnquist a lot back in the day, so I might end up trying both of them as well. So, anyways, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. You should probably play it.
Yes, I think it would be wild for a Zoomer to pick up this game who has never played the original.
What is?
I would love to hear. What?
What is a videotape?
Well, yeah.
What is a VHS?
I would also just love to hear their perspective from a gaming, like from what they think of that. I think.
Yeah, sure.
I think Rodney Mullen might be super religious now.
Huh.
Okay.
I don't know.
If I was that good at skating.
So from what I'm reading on this Wikipedia page, it may actually be that.
No, he's thanking Jesus for how good he is
in
at skating.
2010, Mullen stated that skating is one of the greatest blessings I could have, but also the concern about this is good, about the popularity of skateboarding, big stuff due to the physical toll that it takes on bodies of professional skateboarders. So I think it is unhealthy and uncool. I see great skaters and their ankles and knees are ruined. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. He made some cool tricks. Anyway.
I was looking up again because I couldn't remember if he had said something really offensive. I thought I remembered there being a reason why he was kind of not talked about as much, but I am incorrect.
Okay. Well, what if instead of a skateboard, you could like ride around in like the car from Final Fantasy 15
or a bed.
Or a bed or like a yokai
or a cloud.
Alex, what do you think about all this?
Sounds pretty dumb. Sounds like something for nerds.
Do you have a K-Drive launcher?
Let's forget about all that and let's move on to.
Yeah, there's a lot of really stupid mounts in Final Fantasy 14.
They should put a skateboard in.
I wouldn't be surprised if there is one somewhere.
There's a lot of stupid mounts in MMOs in general, so I'm not really surprised. It's not really a unique to FF14 thing.
Yeah.
The bed is really stupid though.
The bed is amazing. I love it. And like I saw a guy just like he's like a flying whale, and they were just in like a little like thing underneath it. But yeah, we've talked about Final Fantasy 14 for the past 2 episodes, I think, so we will keep this pretty short. I thought I was at Heaven's Word last week because I'd gotten past some credits, and I was like, oh yeah, that must be the end of A Realm Reborn. Okay, so I'm in Heaven's Word now?
Well,
No.
you were in the transition period between
Yeah.
like the 1.x patches.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So last night I hit the credits that said A Realm Reborn. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, that happens in between every expansion.
So there's 2 sets of credits between every?
That's my
Well,
understanding.
so there's like the story, and then after, like, so basically, for I guess the first credits you got, that was what launched with the game, and then the stuff after that was the patches they rolled out over time
Gotcha.
up until Heaven's Word.
And they do that. They do those.
After,
they patch in
yeah.
more story stuff in between each
Understood.
expansion.
Okay, I didn't know that going in, so that makes way more sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's credits for each of those transitional periods.
No,
but
I would say I only hit 2 credits by the time I got to the big
No,
Heaven's
but
Word
like
title.
But he means
I don't know if there
think
will
he
be
means
credits
after
between Heaven's Word. Yeah.
Understood. Right.
Or I forget what the second expansion is called. Something wild. It's like Bloodfire or something like that.
I think, yeah.
Well, let me look it up. I actually don't know.
Like the
Stormblood?
WoW server Blood Furnace.
Yeah,
which is
Stormblood.
my favorite name. Stormblood. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's 2 words. Yep. But yeah, no. I think the story at the end of A Realm Reborn got really interesting. And
At the end of what you just, like, the second, like the interstitial
Yes.
part. Okay.
yes, like leading up to Heaven's Word, and what sets up Heaven's Word is pretty buck wild. To the point where I was like, huh, you can't continue doing this game in the same place, can you? And it turns out, no, you can't. So they send you to a completely new place for reasons that are very valid. I don't know if I should talk spoilers about it. I mean, that story stuff is pretty old, but
It is, but I think a lot of people are coming back to it because they did that patch recently to streamline stuff.
Yeah, and also apparently like the patch 5.3 or 5.4 stuff is supposed to be like extremely excellent. So
They say that about every damn patch at this point.
oh no, I mean the consensus among like Twitter folk and all that are saying that it is particularly.
I mean, since since last year, since Shadowbringers came out, everyone just like, oh my god, it's the best Final Fantasy that's ever existed. So
I think to a degree, I get a little tired of that stuff. Not to take away from anybody's opinions or dismiss them, but I get a little tired of that stuff sometimes because I'm like, okay, we need to talk about what it means when you're saying that it's the best Final Fantasy thing and you have to play like 400 hours of an MMO to get there. I don't know that you can say that. Like, let's look at this thing as a whole product. But I mean,
well, let me tell you about time compression and how time compression will make all this possible, and you won't have to worry about 400 hours ever again.
I do want to play through it, so that's the other reason that I am shying off of spoilers, because I want to see that stuff relatively soon.
Yeah, and I am glad that I did not drop it like I almost did, because
I'm glad too.
There was a good, pretty dark period in the middle of my week where
how many hours did you spend queued for duties this week alone?
Roughly 8 to 10 hours in queues.
Would you say that you spent more time queued for duties than you spent producing duties this past week?
I hope.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty safe. It's pretty safe that I was queued for them more than producing. Yes. So yeah, I am playing on the Japanese servers because I'm playing with a Singaporean friend and all this stuff. And I was playing at hours that in Japan would have been like 10 in the morning or like 7 p.m. ish for them. So it's like pretty normal hours, I would think. And I was queuing up and I was like, yeah, I have a screenshot. I was on Twitter of literally 4-hour queue for a single queue. And I was like, what is this? This is just like, this is a story critical mission. Why can't I just progress the story? And it was so disheartening, and it like totally killed all the momentum. And I was like,
I was, when you first brought Final Fantasy 14, I was like, should I reinstall this and maybe get into this before and like kind of play it alongside Avengers or something. I don't know. Like I was considering doing it sooner rather than later. And then when you were going through that middle of the week stuff, I was like, fuck this. I'm never playing this game. This is awful.
It was real negative. And then I reached out to the community, to the Reddits, to everything like that, being like, okay, am I doing something wrong? And as it turned out, yes, I was. It turned out I was a bit of a dumbass, and didn't realize, well, half me being dumbass, half the game kind of not communicating this one thing I would particularly well.
There was some dumbassery meeting in the middle, perhaps even more dumbassery on the game side than your side.
Yeah. So the short version being, to progress the story, you have to do, you have to redo a couple duties that you did in the past, but this time you're doing the hard version, and you pick these up as side quests from like a side room. And I was like, okay, I'll grab that. And I grabbed the other side quest that was in the side room, assuming it was for the main story. It wasn't. It was just a side quest, but it was in like literally the person right next to the person that was giving you the side quest. So I was like, oh, they must be together because you have to do 2 of these. Let's do that. So one of them is for a hard duty. The other is for an extreme duty. And I was like, okay, I'll just queue for them both. And it turns out, I guess, because I had the extreme in there or something, that no one queues for those. And it was just making the queue take forever. And because it wasn't critical story content, no one was doing it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And I didn't realize that would just bone up the entire queue, so that sucked. But once
don't do what Alex did.
Yeah. So pay more attention to which one you actually have to do, which apparently I didn't, and it didn't say on like my quest log or whatever.
I just think if the game is going to do that kind of shit, it should have a tutorial pop up that says like, hey, we noticed you took both these quests. Just so you know, you'll have a bad time if you try to queue for the harder one, and you don't need to, like, I don't know. Also, if I am a designer and I have the data that shows that no one is doing that quest and it's right next to a serious story quest that you have to do, I would perhaps, I mean, I don't like the idea of removing content, but I would perhaps move the NPC that gives you that to someplace not as close so you don't pick them up at the same time or something.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, again, it was partially me being a dumbass, and then partially it not being communicated back to me particularly well. But once I removed that, once I got to the real queue and went through that stuff, it was pretty speedy actually. So yeah, that was good.
That's good. I'm glad you were able to move forward.
Yeah, and then I went through.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Went through literally 2 hours of cutscenes last night. And
so that shit fucking rules. I'm excited for that when I finally play it sometime. I love the idea of like, here's a movie drop. Obviously, given my appropriation for Kingdom Hearts, I love the idea of here's a movie in the middle of this MMO story. That's awesome.
Like, so minor kind of major spoilers, but I'm not going to give explicit detail. Get ready for it. So Final Fantasy 14 players, if you're going to potentially play it, take off your headphones now.
All right.
5, 4, 3. They kill like 3/4 of the main characters. Like that's what sets up the next expansion.
Do they kill the lady with the fists, like the punchy lady? What? Oh, she's my favorite.
Yeah, they kill like fucking everybody.
Damn it.
I know, and the scene where she goes is really rough.
Okay, well.
It's very good, and it's pretty bold.
All right.
So, headphones back, friends. Yeah, it's good. Anyways, not going to spend much more time on it because I'm not as far in as I thought I was. So apparently I'm going to be playing it for a lot longer.
Yeah, I mean, well, at least you're enjoying it.
Yeah, it's back to being good, and I'm going to continue it. The new area seems real cool.
You playing it makes me want to get back to it, but also there has just been a deluge of games.
That's the problem.
We're all like, earlier in the year, we're like, there's not going to be many games come this holiday, like come the fall because of COVID. And now I'm just like, oh God, I've got so many games on my plate, and I'm passing on things like Tony Hawk Pro Skater even.
And they're all coming to Game Pass.
Well, some of them are, at least.
Like the good ones, like Crusader Kings,
I played about an hour of Crusader Kings 3 today, and then I went, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm playing through the tutorial, and I'm going, wow. This guy wants to be on my council? How do I get, okay, well, I need to kick someone off my council, but how do I do that? I can't figure out how to kick someone off my council because this guy is powerful. He already doesn't like me because, like, I had to steal his land from him.
My
I'm like trying to find a spouse for my half brother, and like I'm like, okay, search for like someone with inheritable traits, and it's like this person's 8 years old, and I'm like, excuse me.
Yep. And sorry to go on a slight tangent, I did love the quote that was on Twitter that the developers had to tone down the horniness of that game because apparently it was previously too much.
It is interesting that it's interesting what this game gets away with compared, like, I feel like if BioWare put half of the stuff that's in this game into one of their games, rightfully people would be like, what the fuck, BioWare? But because it's specifically looking at a point in history when everything was fucked and everyone was like a piece of shit, people don't really are like, yeah, whatever, you're gonna marry your daughter and produce weird offspring that way. It's like that is not okay.
The thing that convinced me to check it out was a screenshot of this woman coming to the player character and going, I'm way hotter than your wife, and like you should be with me. And your response can be like, oh wow, I'm so flattered, or what? You're my daughter.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this game's wild. Okay.
I also saw one of someone going to war with a baby.
Yes.
Sure.
It is basically like it allows you to recreate the best like shitty Showtime period pieces from like the period, and I like that about it. The tutorial is really good too, actually. Like it's confusing if you are new to the game.
So much.
There's a lot of information, but they actually convey it fairly well, I think. And the way that the UI in that game is like, it's unbelievable how much better it is than the CK2 UI. And it has like tooltips that are really usable. And like you can lock the tooltip by holding your mouse over the thing that you're tooltipping, and then expand the like tooltips within the tooltips. So you can kind of go down like rabbit holes
all the way down.
Yes.
Only the tooltip.
Yeah, which is good because it means you can go like, what's a de jure claim? Okay. And then in the de jure tooltip, it'll say like realm, and you can go like, what does realm mean in this context? Okay, what's a ruler in this context? And it'll just keep like nesting the tooltips so that you get a full picture. My favorite tweet though about the game so far, I couldn't find it just now. I can't remember who tweeted it, but it was a screenshot of clicking the understand button, the I understand button.
Oh, yes.
And it was like he continued to click not understanding at all.
Yeah.
There's like, that's the way that
That's me.
Yes, that's the way that they have the OK button in the tutorial says I understand. And there's a couple of points, even me who has played, a couple of games of Crusader Kings 2 poorly, but I have touched that game. I understand the basics. Like I was clicking I understand because that was the button, but I was like, I don't understand anything you just said. I read this 4 times and I don't understand it. So
like they try and they do a decent job of
they do their
presenting
best.
You with the thing, but there's also so much that they leave unexplained. Like I was trying to, one of the first things they have to do is siege another like territory because it's supposed to be part of your duchy or your claim, but this person is like, doing their own thing. Be like, I got to take this back. And then you've got to have more people in your army than they do in their garrison, like protecting their town. But I was like, wait, what? And then they don't explain exactly how stuff builds, and they've got an encyclopedia in the game, so you can look all this stuff up. But it's very much just like kind of thrown into the deep end, even with all like the kind of guidance they give you. Once you get there, it's just like, all right, figure it out.
I'm looking forward to it, though. I've heard things like Gita Jackson at Waypoint was saying that she played a game where she managed to find a Jewish ruler to start as and spread Judaism so that it was the dominant religion in Europe and stuff like that, which is just like, some of the ways that things like that can happen are wild. Like you could like play the game and say that like, well, I want to take over all of Eastern China and then turn it into my own custom religion, and then we're going to take over the rest. We'll take over Europe as this weird religious cult that I made up.
Yeah, the map on this game is huge. It goes from like Ireland and Western Africa all the way to Eastern China.
Oh wow, that is huge.
And what's wild is with CK2, I never played it at launch. My understanding is that it just had Europe in it at launch, and then they added like Africa and the Middle East and eventually Asia
I never saw that. Cool.
As DLC. So they added that stuff over time, but I mean, at launch it didn't have that. So it's really cool that this game started with all those regions at the start, it's just such a better platform for people to play it, I think, than CK2 was. And you really can get into it now, I think. And
it's on Game Pass. So
yeah, it is.
That was the wild one for me is I almost bought it on Steam, and then I was like, I spent too much money this month. I really don't want to spend another $50. I should just like on a whim. I don't know why it even occurred to me that it might be on Game Pass, but I just opened the Xbox app and typed it in just because I'm trying to get into the habit of always doing that before I buy a game now. And sure enough, there it was. Which is awesome.
Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to play more of it. I don't know when I'll get to it. It's an overwhelming thing. So it's just, it's going to be a game that I like I did with Total War 3 Kingdoms last year, where I just replay the opening 20 minutes to an hour like 5 times until I like start to understand and like, okay, here's how I should play this to like get a better start so I can like have a decent time with it.
Oh, totally. That's like, sorry, go for it.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's the same way I play Civ. Like a new Civ game is I will just do a totally burner first round where I know I'm gonna lose, but I'm gonna learn all the lessons along the way. So yeah.
It's a game that if they take it off of Game Pass and offer like a 20% off, it's the first game that I could see potentially purchasing through that Xbox app.
Sure.
Because if I have saves and stuff and like it enough, and they usually discount games when they're leaving Game Pass. Yeah. They could finally get me to buy something through there because and I was thinking about it. I was like, man, that's smart, because that means that you may get the sale in addition to getting people to download it, because they're invested now with time in a game like this where you don't start and finish it, you just play it. It's pretty smart.
Is Paradox owned by Microsoft now? I can't remember.
No, they own Obsidian now. They don't own Paradox, as far as I know, unless something happened that I was not aware of.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. But either way, Andre, you're playing another Xbox
Game Pass banger. Yes, Wasteland 3, which was also not on my radar at all until I saw a screenshot from Twitter. That I believe Pat sent through. We were talking about Reagan and the Black Ops trailer.
It was an Edmund Tran tweet, which is a great Twitter follow from Game Informer in Australia. I think he's from Game Informer.
The tweet was a screenshot of a giant statue of Reagan that is worshipped by like a cult led by someone named Nancy, and it shoots lasers out of its eyes.
Yeah. Sorry, Edmund Tran's at GameSpot, not Game Informer. I don't know why I said Game Informer, but yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's like some good humor that I can get behind, and it's on Game Pass. So I knew nothing about this game going in other than it's set in America and it's got jokes, some like high level jokes that aren't just haha America.
Yeah.
And like right away in the like character select screen, I was like, oh wow, this game goes hard, because I think so it's a CRPG, whatever that means, like a Divinity
Computer
or
RPG.
Yes, or it's like Divinity / XCOM. So you've got role-playing elements where you're going to towns and you're talking to people and you're getting quests, and then the combat is like XCOM. You've taken cover, you've got like an Overwatch ability, and you're shooting and that kind of stuff, grenades, all that good stuff.
It's also kind of, well, I mean, it's like Wasteland 1 and 2, but it's also like original Fallout, if anybody's ever played original Fallout.
I have not played
There's
original
some
Fallout.
similarities. It's a little more XCOM than original Fallout is.
At least Wasteland 3 is. I have not.
Wasteland 2 is as well. The
games.
first Wasteland was vastly different from a gameplay perspective. It's like played. It's closer to like an old dungeon crawler from like the 80s. Just from you're in the open. You're in like kind of an open world instead. But it's like then. It's like first person where like enemies will pop up in front of you, if I recall.
I did not play that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think, but it's when I say first person, it's all sprites and stuff. It's because it's pretty. The first Wasteland predates Fallout by like 10 years, I think.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
So so from the beginning you're picking characters, and you pick 2 characters together, but they come in pairs. You can create your own character, but I think I just wanted to go with like one of the sets they had created, and I think the second characters I saw were called the Punk Lovers. And their description was, thrills, kills, and spills are the life breath of these star-crossed punk rock lovers who fought their way out of the cult they were raised in. And it's just like 2 gay punk boys who, will love to kill shit together. They're covered in piercings and like spiky hair, tattoos. Really cool. I went with the science-y pair named Chris and Chris, one with a K, one with a CH.
That's so good.
And they're both like science nerds, but they're good at different things.
This game sounds really fucking good.
Yeah. Science geeks who fell in love. They're socially awkward with outsiders, but chatty with each other, reveling in jokes only they get.
That's smart.
Yeah.
And this game, I believe, will stay on Game Pass because Microsoft did purchase In Exile, the developer of this game. So this game was published by Deep Silver because the deal was in place. It's like Outer Worlds. The deal was in place before they purchased them, but they own In Exile now. So that makes the Wasteland series a Microsoft first-party series at this point. Okay. Which is cool.
Sick, because this game is pretty good so far. I will say it is a little disappointing that like the personality of the characters doesn't seem like it comes through so much.
Yeah.
I wish they did, like in Divinity 2, Original Sin 2, they did this thing with the pre-made characters where they all have their own story and you get a lot of personality from them. I'm not getting that so much here, which I was hoping for more of when I saw this character screen. But is mostly just like what perks they have to start with and what they specialize in. But that's not bad because I like Chris and Chris. It's very silly.
Yeah. It's the sort of game where, to a degree, you do have to do a little bit of narrative legwork and imagine the kinds of conversations they might be having, I think, and stuff as things are happening.
I mean, things are pretty. You're picking dialogue and all that stuff, going through choices and asking questions, but it's just things aren't super deep with the 2 characters you choose, but the other party members you bring in are more talkative and have more personality. So the game is, I'm trying to remember exactly. You're going from Utah to Nevada, I think, and to get help your people in Utah survive because things are real bad there after nukes have been dropped on the US and everything. It's like nuclear winter, basically. So that's kind of the setup of Wasteland in general, and Wasteland 3 is you're going from Utah to Nevada. And one of the first people you meet, your contact in Nevada, is the Patriarch, and he is this man who carries a giant hammer. And the hammer is 2 fists, like opposed, and the handle is wrapped in an American flag.
Wow,
that's funny.
Yeah, he is quite something. It's when you're talking to someone important, it'll do a cool like zoom in real close to them. So it's not always top down or isometric. So you will get close-up conversations with people like the Patriarch, or I've talked to like this mob boss type person where it also comes in close, or this guy who was talking in a Scottish accent for some reason. Not like there's no reason for him to be talking in a Scottish accent. He was trying to make himself feel special or like different, distinguish himself somehow. Like you can find an audio tape of him practicing his accent.
That's very funny.
Like, so
that's good.
Yeah, it's been good so far. I want to play more of it, but again, it's gonna be a big long game.
Yeah. It's interesting. Sorry.
No, you please. It's interesting.
It's interesting. The biggest criticisms I've seen of it is that there's a lot of bugs with the way co-op works, I guess, and progression co-op works.
I saw some
which
stuff
is
about that, but I'm not playing it.
Wild to me because I can't imagine wanting to play that game cooperative at all. Like there's not a bone in my body that would want to get a friend online to play that game with me over the internet.
Sure,
so I think it's interesting that there's enough players to make that like a vocal criticism.
I think with the advent of like Roll20 and online tabletop game stuff, I think it's not that, and like Divinity Original Sin 2, I don't know if 1 had online.
It did.
2 had
they both had co-op.
And
that
like,
one baffled me
people really
too.
like that stuff, but I think that's much more feasible. I definitely wouldn't I can't get a group together to reliably, partially because of time zones, but also people have lives. I don't have a group I can get together, or a person I could get together with to do that. So yeah, that's not something I'm looking to do. I've seen some stuff about like camera stuff. I have not encountered. It
sounds
any
like the co-op is not very good.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean I have not in a single player?
I have not encountered any issues with the PC version I'm playing. I hear the Xbox version's all right too. It seems like I could play fine with a controller. It'd just be, it's nice to have a mouse because there's so much stuff all across the screen.
Mm-hmm. How does it feel mechanically? Like, how is the actual act of playing it?
I mean, it plays like a computer RPG where you're right clicking to run around. You're controlling I think you can have up to 6 people in your party. 2 have to be pick a character from the beginning or whatever. 2 have to be rangers, basically. And then you've got 4 other characters in your party of various, they could be rangers or marshals, or I've got a teenage girl whose family was abducted. And so she's in my party now, and she wants revenge.
Is it very... Oh, sorry.
Oh, the Patriarch, I was going to say, the Patriarch, his kind of, if you want my help, you got to do this for me. You got to track down my 3 kids and bring them in because they want to kill me. And that's they're all trying to arm themselves and create conflict so they can take over my spot. But what were you going to ask?
I was going to say, is it kind of grid based? Is it like an XCOM or even like a Fire Emblem?
Once you get into combat, it does become grid based, and it's if you are familiar with XCOM, it's just like XCOM. You've got full size cover and half size cover. You've got percentage to hit. You've got a couple different weapons. You've got reload, overwatch, defend. It's but everyone has different kinds of special abilities. The teenage girl has some skills that it only takes 1 action point to shoot, but you get minus 60% to hit. So even if you're right next to him, you won't necessarily hit because you're but you can shoot 5 times if you're right next to him.
Yeah, that's cool.
So there's a lot to dig into there. The one thing I wish they had was the ability to turn off helmets on the character models. Even if you're wearing one, just turn it off for display so I can actually tell who's who, because that just becomes a thing where I'm like, who is this? Which one are you? And then also, I don't know if it's just me on accident, you can switch between characters because they all have different skills and good for different things, but then it'll deselect all your other characters. So you're on so if I hit tab, it'll I'll go from Chris and now I'll be Chris when I hit tab, but then I'm only Chris. And then I run over and I try to leave the area. It's your party has to be together. I'm they're halfway across the map because they deselected everyone when I switched my main character because I opened a door or whatever.
Right. And this is when
so that's a little annoying. But
not in combat. You're kind of
not in combat, just in the overworld.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, And like you can just hit the space bar and it'll select everyone again. So that's like not super bad. But then you do have to wait for everyone to run across the map.
Sure.
And I found a cat with a cowboy hat. And it joined my party and it runs around with me and it fights.
Fuck yes. All right. I'm gonna sign back
you
up for
can
Game
have
Pass
up
then.
to you can have two animals in your party. And they will act, you can't control them, they act independently of you, but that's like a fun, neat thing. So if you upgrade like your animal whisperer skill, you can like recruit dogs, or there's like a cyber chicken.
Of course
I've seen multiple cyber chickens. I don't know.
Sounds
The cat wanted cigarettes. That's how I got it to follow me. Just gave it cigarettes. I don't know why.
Is it like that Polish bear?
I don't. Polish.
There was a Polish bear in World War II that ate cigarettes and also like fought in combat with Polish soldiers fighting Nazis. It's 100% fucking real.
That's great.
Yes,
I wouldn't be surprised if something
of all time.
I wouldn't be surprised if something like that was in Wasteland 3. Oh, yeah. There's also a mechanic where like you kind of go out into the overworld and you drive like I think it's called a Maverick. It's just a big truck with a gun on it, and you can drive that to different like zones, and then you get out and then you run around and do your thing in those zones. And I got this moment where I like left the town because I was like, oh, okay, well, I've got a quest to go over to this place. And then I get a call, right? Someone comes over the radio. It's like, you killed my brother back at in the tutorial level of the game. You killed my brother, and now you got to come fight me, or like something's going to happen, or I'm going to kill all these people I've got held hostage. And then you also get a message being like, hey, the patriarch wants you to go stop this caravan from being robbed, and it's got a bunch of like valuable equipment, and he'll pay you well. So then you have to decide like, which one am I going to do? Because you can only do one of those. So you've got a choice between two quests that you have to pick. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I went and I took care of the hostage situation, and I will see how if the patriarch's mad at me or something, even though I saved some people's lives.
That seems cool.
We'll see. It's a hell of a game.
I looked it up as a reminder. The Wojtek, the Polish soldier bear, achieved the rank of corporal in the Polish 2 Corps, and moved crates of ammunition around during the Battle of Monte Cassino in 1944.
Okay.
Bear fucking ruled.
Yeah, he does.
And he survived the war and then lived out the rest of his days in Edinburgh Zoo.
I guess you can't let a bear like that back into the wild. That would be irresponsible.
No, it's not going to function in the wild. Yeah.
No, not gonna get own cigarettes. So.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to go buy his own packs.
Or he is going to be. It's going to be a bad time for everyone involved.
Yes, it's also possible.
Well, with that, I think we're making record time right here into the news.
This is a relatively short news week too.
Well, I think we can stretch it out. Don't worry. I think we can still hit 3 hours.
Oh, we can.
I was up until I only have about 4 hours of sleep because I started that Avengers final mission. It pops up a thing that says you are starting the final mission, and you can go back, which good on them. But also, they don't tell you that the final mission is going to take you 2 hours to play through.
Oh yeah.
So when you started at 10:30.
Yep. I encountered a similar notification in Final Fantasy. I sent screenshots where it's like, hey, there's going to be a lot of cutscenes here. Make sure you set aside enough time to watch these.
They really should tell you. In that case, they are cutscenes. They know how long they are. They should tell you how long.
Oh, you still have to click through some dialogue. So like,
yeah, but they should say like approximately 2 hours. Like
yeah.
Anyways, news.
Yeah.
We're gonna start off with the worst news that I've ever seen this week. That's not true, but it's bad news. It's a shame for the game industry. Vlambeer after 10 years, they celebrated their 10th anniversary this week, and they said, we're done as Vlambeer. We will not be creating any more games as a team. They're going to release their bug
Ultra
game.
Bugs.
What's that called? Ultra Bugs. They're going to release Ultra Bugs, and they're looking into ways to continue supporting like their other stuff. But Rami and
like Super Crate Box.
what's his name? I only remember Rami's name, but
yeah, I honestly
JWOP, or that's what Rami always calls him, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't remember. I saw this news, and I'm a huge fan of Rami, and I really like supporting their work because I think that they make some cool things. I think Luftrausers, people don't talk about it very often. Some of the art stuff in Luftrausers is like, you didn't really need to make it that aesthetic, but I don't know that making Nazis cool is necessarily the best art design. However, with that said, they make really cool games. They're super not my thing, honestly, because I'm not really into arcade games in that way. But there's no denying that what they make is really, really cool. And that's part of why I'm kind of excited by this news. Obviously, what I want them to do is what they want to do. So I would think it's really sad if this came out because they couldn't continue. But the fact that it's because they want to move on to other things is really awesome. And I think it's like a success story. It's really cool to see stuff in the gaming industry come to a close because everyone involved wants it to end, whether it's a game series or in this case, a developer or whatever. And I think that's great. I also heard that they don't necessarily like each other very much, which is perhaps means that they'll both move on to a better working environment.
I mean, after working with each other for 10 years, that's possible.
Yeah. My understanding is that they've never particularly liked each other, but
I just, that seems, I mean, I guess it could be an Adam Savage and a Jamie Heineman situation.
Yeah,
but I don't know how you get into making a games with a person for 10 years if you don't like them.
Yeah, I don't know. It's stuff I've heard other people say. I feel like I have seen Rami speak to that before, but I couldn't remember a specific tweet. So who knows? That's between them anyway. It doesn't matter.
The person's name is Jan Willem Nijum. They're Dutch, so I might have butchered that name. I'm sorry. But yeah,
I think it's great that they're going to be able to move on and do other stuff. Rami has, as someone who reads a lot of the stuff that he writes and tweets and has watched his streams at times, he seems like somebody who has a lot of stories he wants to tell, which wasn't Vlambeer's model, wasn't really conducive to that.
No, Ridiculous Fishing had no room for a story.
Yeah.
Hey, but it's a damn good game, and it's a shame and a travesty that it's not available on modern platforms.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I hope that Rami has the opportunity to kind of, if that's something he wants to pursue, he can now kind of pursue that more of a storytelling direction. Although I don't know, he may be more interested in working as like dev support, because that's mostly what he seems like he's been doing for a while now. So hopefully there'll be cool stuff from them.
Rami's already got like a new logo for whatever he's going to be doing. The story behind that is pretty cool. But yeah, so I look forward to whatever they do next. They put out they had like a 10-year like project that they had been working on but never able to like really get off the ground, that you can find on itch, which is cool. So I think if you look for Vlambeer on itch, you can find that. So yeah, it's a neat thing, neat studio. Sad to see them go, but happy that it's on their terms and that they'll be doing their own stuff. 'Cause like Jan had made things like Minute and has been working on other stuff. Like they've always been like working on stuff independently of each other.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. All right. Well, let's see. I guess we'll just go into the real big news this week, which was, I guess, the Nvidia stuff, right? I mean, there's like other
depends on who you ask, but I would agree.
Yeah. I'd say these Nvidia finally pulled the blanket off of their nice display of shiny new graphics cards, the RTX 3000 series.
Yeah.
3 graphics cards, whole lot of power draw, whole lot of Ks, whole lot of frames,
A lot of flops.
whole lot of rays.
It seems like really impressive stuff that is like gonna make it worth it for a lot of people to upgrade. It's the classic thing to me of like, well, I bought a video card earlier this year because there's always, every time you go to purchase a piece of PC hardware, someone in your circle will say, well, they're gonna have in September, they're gonna announce something, so you should wait.
I probably said that to you. I think I did. And I was also like, I kind of want a new graphics card, but when's the next one coming?
And it sucks.
September.
But it's also like, if I had waited to now, I probably would have been like, oh, okay, well, I'll buy one. And then when I was looking at buying them, when I'd look buying, someone would have said, well, the AMD stuff is coming in a month, so you might want to wait and see.
That's the problem.
What that's going to be.
That's another thing is there's not really much of a news story here, but in Fortnite, there's a tease for the new AMD cards.
Yeah. But then,
that's all there is to that story.
February rolls around and it's like, okay, it's post holidays. I've got the money together again. I'm going to go buy one. And then people say, well, there's a revision to those cards coming in August. So you may want to wait. And so it's just like, whatever.
That's one of the biggest issues with trying to build PCs is that there's always something around the corner. So at some point you just have to.
Which is what I did with this video card upgrade.
The thing is, everything these days is pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
And like the differences that you're seeing are like, in some ways they're substantial, but like in most of the ways you're still going to have a fine experience. Like,
I mean, I'm fine. The 3070 sounds like it's probably better than my card, but maybe the difference,
getting a better deal, like price to performance, with these new cards because of its second generation for the RTX stuff.
But at the same time, like for my purposes, the card that I have would probably last 3 to 5 years if I wanted to stretch it. I probably will get a card before 5 years, but again, because it's a hobby. But I'm not actually that upset about it. I just did. I did think it was funny.
Yep. But yeah, no, these new cards seem like they're actually really substantially good. And it seems like Nvidia has a reputation of every generation releasing kind of similar stuff for higher prices every time. Like they just keep bumping it up and bumping it up. And everyone's like, oh, these things are going to be just impossibly expensive. But
and especially with the 20 series, they were not much of a step up from the previous generation, but they had the ray tracing stuff in them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which was new.
In terms of just pure performance, they were not that different than the 10 series.
Yeah.
It's just they added the new stuff, like you said, the RTX stuff, which was unproven at that point. So now it's like, okay, it has
still kind of unproven. Like there are games with it, but it's still not super widespread.
They've been doing some cool stuff with it, the RTX stuff, though, like specifically with the voice, the sound canceling stuff in the background, all that kind of stuff.
Although they activated that for all of the previous cards.
Don't think they activated it, but it was
they unlocked it or whatever.
People figured out how to use it on previous gen cards. I don't think Nvidia released official support for it, but
I saw a tweet that said
possible on other cards.
I saw a tweet that said like they made it, they opened it for all the cards because there was nothing actually stopping them from doing it. But I could be, that was one offhand tweet, so I don't know.
I think they also put back some ray tracing to the 10 series, but it's just it won't work as well because it doesn't have the dedicated.
I tried ray tracing in Control on my 1070. No.
I also think, from what I have heard, the voice canceling stuff, the noise canceling stuff is not. I mean, it runs like crap from what I understand. Like it cuts out all the time and it's not very good. But that may be that just in general, I've heard that from across the board, but that may have a lot to do with your environment too. Like, I don't know. It might be that there's certain noise that is more difficult to cancel and it fucks it up.
Looking at the Nvidia page, it says you need an RTX or a Quattro graphics card for RTX voice, But
yeah, so they announced the 3070, 3080, and 3090. 3070,
that is a big boy.
The 3090 it's a 3-slot card. It is huge.
3-slot card, longer than an average card and taller.
It definitely would not be compatible. I only have 2 slots on my motherboard, so it just wouldn't work for me.
Well, I mean, it could it could pass that other slot.
Hang,
do you have enough slot? Do you have other cards, which most people don't probably?
No, I don't.
Some people do. And do you have enough like slots on the back of your case?
And I don't know if I do, honestly.
And the big boy is $1,500, which sounds like a lot, but it's actually not, because it's also replacing the Titan. And the Titan started at $2,000. So
well, that's what the price here in Japan is. So
if you had told me that there were these 3 new cards without telling me the price and said the 3090 replaced the Titan, my assumption would be it's 2,000 or more. The 3080 is 1,200 or so, and then the 3070 is 800 to 900.
Those are the Japanese prices.
Yeah, the pricing spread here is way better.
Much better.
Yeah, 1,500 at the highest end. 3080 is 700, and 3070 is 500, which is pretty. 500 is pretty accessible for a graphics card, and
it's got the performance of a 2080 Ti, which is like the high end from the previous line.
My 2070 Super was 500, and it actually performs. No, I mean, it actually performs better than the 2080 Ti in some metrics. It is not as powerful as a 3070 by any means, but their $500 price point cards are phenomenal value right now. And have been for last year or so.
Yeah, I think the 3070 seems like a sweet spot for a lot of people.
Yes,
and I'm pretty interested in the 3080 for my upcoming build.
They talked about this on the Beastcast, and I thought Jeff Bakalar put it really well. Ron Funches was on and asked, like, hey, apparently Ron Funches has a Titan X, which is wild to me, but I mean, he's way into games. So cool. He was asking if it's the time for him to upgrade or whatever, and they were kind of talking about it. But then he asked Jeff Bakalar if he thought that there was going to be if this year, if these cards might affect console sales because of how well priced they are. And Bakalar was like, man, if you're talking about making the choice between buying a PlayStation 5 or buying a 3070, it's not even a question that a 3070 is going to give you way more value over time. And I was like, wow, those are bold words. I kind of agree, but
I kind of agree too. And I was thinking about this, that the timing of this announcement does not feel as though it is aimed at AMD for them to make a move. It feels like it's directed at the consoles.
Absolutely.
It's getting ahead of, well, even the release dates and prices of those consoles and getting people to upgrade now. Like it's
I mean,
there's still a market who doesn't care about these at all, but it does get it. Like suddenly I'm like, do I need a PS5 right now? Probably not. Especially if I'm buying an $800 graphics card,
especially with a news item that we have coming up soon.
And honestly, even as someone who's not going to buy one of these cards at launch, because I just bought a card, I had the same reaction, because I was like, well, do I want a PS5 or do I want to, in 2 years, buy the super version of one of these cards?
Or TI or whatever.
Or whatever, And because if they're pricing these this well, that I would assume would mean that in a couple of years, when they do a revision on these, they will be priced really well. And then, and it was just sort of a moment of like, I'm getting so much more value out of this stuff than I have ever gotten out of a console. And it totally was a moment of like, am I gonna buy a PS5, or am I just gonna become one of those people who just says Sony exclusives are great, but whatever. I don't know.
I mean, I'm going to get a PS5 eventually, but it is like this year. What do I go for? Because I'm going to buy. I want to buy something, and it'll be like these cards are much more compelling. I just wish the 3080 wasn't a 180% markup here in Japan.
That's rough. The pricing there is rough.
Like $1,200 or like $1,200 with tax.
Hey, at least you're not in Australia.
Well,
where they don't even get the Founders Edition cards, and their funny money will be like $5,000 for a graphics card.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. But yeah, I would love to talk about the technical side of this stuff, but I'd also don't want to take up an hour.
Yeah, well, so I think one of the big things they announced that actually is the direct shot at the consoles is the fact that Microsoft's direct streaming, whatever it's called, is going to, which is basically increase loading speeds across the board, because it'll help. So storage. I guess they're going to start getting it out to developers next year. So we're not going to see it in games for a while on PC, but the idea is that the data will load basically almost directly from the hard drive or SSD to the GPU into VRAM, right?
Yeah.
And then
it's all about IO.
It'll decompress. It won't go through the CPU and get bottleneck there or anything.
The only thing is, and this is an interesting one, that only works with Gen 4 PCIe, so PCIe 4. Which a lot of older Intel stuff does not support. A lot of older AMD stuff.
Nothing Intel has supports now.
No, you're right. Even the current stuff.
Yeah,
does not support
the new stuff they just announced this week, like their 11th gen weird naming scheme processors, does PCIe.
Those were laptop card or chips, though, weren't they?
But they support PCIe or 4. Sure. They support PCIe 4. So they're whatever the full-fledged desktop versions of those will work with PCIe 4, but AMD has the PCIe 4 stuff right now.
Yeah, and well, that's kind of a shot across the bow. And
if you're buying
Intel,
if you're building a PC around one of these cards, you absolutely should buy an AMD processor. There's no question.
At this point, it's the best value.
My thought is, if I were to buy one of these cards in 2 years, I would probably do a full new build, because I'll have been on my current one for about 6 years. Who knows what the landscape's going to look like processor wise in 2 years, but were I to do it today, it would be
hopefully much more competitive and better.
Yeah. Hopefully. Well, when I built, I have an i7 67K, which that was like
top of the line,
the best, and it was the opposite. It was totally the other way around, where AMD was like, if you need a budget option, but the i7 6700K was only like 350 or 400 or something, and a much better option. But now it's sort of the other way around, and also AMD's got better value than Intel.
Yeah,
Intel's a mess right now.
Someday I would love to have a chat with someone about the GDDR6X stuff that they talked about, and how they're using PAM4 for it. And it's almost like a pulsed width modulation type thing, where they're able to send 4 bits instead of 4 values rather than 2. So that means they're doubling their memory throughput, which is fucking nuts and super
cool. What is the memory on these cards? I didn't see that actually.
So the 3070 is
8,
but it's not GDR6X. It's just 6.
Gotcha.
And then 6X is on 3080 at 10 gigs and 3090 at 24 gigs.
The 3090 has 24 gigs of video RAM.
Yeah,
but it's the Titan. That's typical for the Titan stuff.
I guess so. Yeah,
it's meant for people. I've been watching on Twitters and Reddits, and people being like, "Oh, I'm gonna buy the 3090. Yeah, I'm a gamer, and this is gonna give me the best frame rates." No, 3090 is not meant for gamers. If you're getting that for gaming, you're not using it right.
It's for AI stuff, or video rendering, and
it's a Titan. It's the kind of thing. If you're making money off of what your video card does, and you're not doing crypto, if you are a 3D FX person, a visual effects person, if you're doing machine learning and AI, that's the card you should get, because it'll be worth it. But for gaming, no, don't do that.
Let's be clear though. Nvidia would love for you to purchase a 3090 to play your video games.
Sure. And during the presentation, they were showing off oh yeah, it'll run games at 8K 60.
Yeah.
Which is dumb.
Well, but with DLSS, so it's not native 8K. It's their deep learning super sampling or whatever.
Which is also
is that actually what it stands for? I didn't know that.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's deep learning.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because it uses AI. It uses AI routines.
Yeah.
Which is apparently really good. But
it looks really good. I watched the controls.
That's another.
It's crazy.
That's another thing that's only on the RTX cards.
Yeah. I don't want to buy buy another game this week, but I do kind of want to get that Control Ultimate Edition before it goes off sale, so I can play it with RTX.
Oh, that's silly.
Oh, because you got it on console. Did you get it on console?
Yeah, I played it on Xbox One X.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
anyways, we could probably talk about this thing forever. We could talk about the HDMI 2.1. We could talk about the reflex stuff they talked about and all that, but we can probably skip it. They look real good. If you're building a PC, you should get one, probably.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested in seeing what Big Navi is, but I really doubt that it'll be the same.
They're out there talking to they got that Fortnite thing like 6.
When do they not though?
Yeah,
they're like, I mean, their most recent cards, the 5700, the 5700 XT, are actually competitive at their price point.
Yeah,
and
but their drivers
for what they are
inconsistent is the problem for me.
Yeah, their history is spotty, but they have been stepping up their game across the board, so hopefully that's a good sign. And
on the other side of things, it is the RDNA2 thing, and that's what's powering PS5 and Xbox Series X. Yeah. So, like, you know, there's an argument to be made both ways, but for now, if you're building a PC, the RTX 3000 series seems real good.
That seems like a safe bet. You'll get all the the GeForce stuff if that's what you're into, the Shadow Play, the what have you. But
speaking of PS5, Andre.
Speaking of PS5, what is Sony in like an earnings call, they said, hey, we're probably gonna look into putting more of our first party stuff on PC eventually. I don't know.
Even less of a reason to purchase a PS5.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier. If they start bringing that stuff day and date, then
I don't think they'll ever do that.
No, I also agree they wouldn't, but like that's what Microsoft does, and that's cool. But
yes,
yeah, but they also own Windows, so it'd be weird. Exactly. It was weird that they didn't.
Yes,
to me,
I agree.
That is true.
I also would argue that if Sony wants to bring more first party stuff to the PC, and I kind of am at a place where I'm like, then what about this new console is actually so unique and special and can only be done there? Which obviously,
seen the way Horizon plays on the PC?
Well, more than that, because more than that, I think suits in a business call saying we want to bring more first party titles to the PC are not developers who are making the games, who might then say, well, we can't bring Ratchet to the PC, so fuck you.
I mean, you can say you need an RTX 3000 card or you need an RTX card and you need an SSD to do it.
You need a
4 SSD.
Yeah, I was going to say, you need a very specific SSD.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's not realistic.
This news is honestly like the least surprising thing to me ever, and I was surprised that it was news because they have been putting PS4 games on PC.
And I suspect what this means is that maybe there'll be a Killzone collection on Steam or something. I don't necessarily think it means new games. I think it means leveraging their PS4 and earlier libraries to generate some bucks on Steam.
I expect to see Horizon Zero or Horizon Forbidden West on the Epic Game Store in 3 years.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I guess
if they get that port fixed up of the first game, like
God of War would be a good PC game.
I feel like
potentially
that's. Yes. I mean, I think any game would be a good PC game.
Yeah, basically,
that's true. But God of War in particular comes to mind for me.
I think that one is so deeply ingrained as a Sony game that it might be one that they don't bring over. Like that is like core to the Sony identity, so that needs to stay on the console. Like if you want God of War, you have to play on PlayStation. Horizon, it's a Sony game, but like it's newer, so it's not like as deeply ingrained.
Yeah,
I'm just spitballing here. I don't know.
Even Uncharted has been since the PS3, so
yeah.
I would assume Uncharted will come over at some point for sure. That seems like
that seems like a
no-brainer to me.
Do. Like the series is done. I hope,
but again, I think what you're gonna see here. I think this is less like new games that come out 6 months later on PC. I could see them coming out a year or two later, maybe. But I think this is more like the Uncharted collection coming out on PC. And maybe if God of War comes out, I would say it's probably going to be the old God of War games getting a like collection, because those are games that people are not. I mean, they are kind of, but they're probably not really buying on the PlayStation Store anymore.
I mean, they've given a lot of those out for free. They're on PS Now.
It's a way
you can play them on PC through PS Now.
Right, but it's a way to monetize people to get them to buy those games on a different platform. And a lot of us would. I would probably buy the Uncharted collection and play it on PC, if I'm being honest.
Especially if you can mod it, so the blue guys at the end of Uncharted 2 are just Buster Bluth from Arrested Development.
That is sure, yeah. Oh God!
I can't.
No, it's Tobias. It's all Tobias in his blue man makeup.
Always was all Tobias.
Oh, sorry, it was Tobias. You're right. My bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. That's the Sony non-news.
Yeah.
But Nintendo. Whoo boy,
man! All this shit. There's most of this shit sucks. That's in this news segment.
Sure. Okay, wait. Let's shelve the Nintendo shit. I don't want to talk about. Okay, Pat wants to do this. I didn't want to talk about this. Pat wanted to talk about.
Oh, we're moving
briefly.
Oh, okay, cool.
The G4 thing. I think G4 put out this.
We talked about G4 doing their like we're coming back. And now there's like a little bit more. The saga is developing.
They just tapped Adam Sessler to do a like talent search video, and it just sucks. Yeah. And I don't want to talk about it at length because I don't want to give it air. Adam Sessler has been going on like weird brigade rants for the past year or so. That earlier this year resulted in him like misgendering multiple people and harassing trans people and just generally being a pretty transphobic piece of shit. And like a lot of his peers were calling him out on it, and he was just barreling forward. And it's like, I don't know if those are his views in reality, although he was liking some tweets that suggest that they are.
He has been having like a rough year and like time of it with like personal family stuff, which he's been open about, which that can push anyone to like extreme lengths, but that does not excuse his behavior.
But if the extreme lengths it pushes you to is to be transphobic, to me that says is that you are a transphobe, but it's just that you keep it closeted and keep the mask on until you have stressors. And obviously I don't wish ill or harm to him or his family. And I think it's terrible to go through rough family times, and nobody deserves that. But at the same time, dude's being a dick, and I think it sucks that G4 tapped him for this, and that was mostly the piece. And the reason I wanted to touch it is because what I have seen from a lot of people I respect is people retweeting this thing being like, well, I want to be a G4 host.
See,
and
that's
it's like
my problem with it. Is that I see it as a marketing ploy. Like much like Burger King did their bullshit Twitch donate $5 thing. This feels like that to get influencers to spread word about this to their big ass audiences, being like, oh, I want to be on there. Like, but like the video or whatever the thing they put up was basically like, oh, do you want your dream job to work at G4 and be a presenter? And it was like extremely nebulous. Like it wasn't like, oh, send in an application, send in your portfolio, and this is what the position will be. It's like, oh, do you want your dream job? Retweet and talk about G4. And it's like, well, obviously they just want people talking about G4.
Yeah, and it's just to show to investors that they can drive engagement so that they can get investors to put money into them bringing the site back. Yeah,
and so, they're not going to recompense any of those influencers. Or
no, and the frustrating thing, so like I have respect for a lot of the people. I'm not going to name any names, of course, but I have respect for a lot of the people that I see really putting their heart and soul into wanting to be a host there, because I understand that they feel that it's a huge career step for them. So I get that you're like on the hustle and you want to get there. Nothing against those people, but it's been disappointing to see the number of people who, for their professional reasons, need to do that and just not talk about the other angles on this, which is the shitty marketing stuff and the stuff part where Adam Sessler's turned into kind of a raging asshole. I
mean, I don't think you can have your cake and eat it too in this case. Like, I think if you're going to do that, I don't think you can also turn around, like talk out of one side of your mouth and then, talk out the other side, be like, hey, I want this G4 job. It'd be really great. And also Adam Sessler sucks.
No, I agree with you. And that's kind of why I'm not trying to call those people out as like, as being shitty. It's just all around been a shitty thing to witness. And I think as someone who's not going to become a G4 host and doesn't want to be, I want to use the platforms I have to point out that this sucks and the guy's a dick.
Yeah.
And it would be great if he came out and was like, hey, I'm really sorry for this. I'm working on learning or whatever. Like, I'm not saying he's not, there's no redemption possible for the guy. He's just made it clear at every turn that he's not interested in that. And if you don't, you can either, if you don't put up with his bullshit, then he's just going to like brigade you and treat you like shit and then block you. So I don't know.
It sucks.
Has Jessica Chobot said anything about all of this? I'd be interested in her
Not that
take.
I've seen.
Which one?
I imagine she probably hasn't said much about it because probably doesn't want to poison her own well. But like her opinion, like she's been pretty outspoken about some G4 stuff in the past, and I would be interested in her take on all of this. But I don't know if she's actually said anything.
Yeah, she retweeted and said casting call, y'all, in all caps. Hashtag G4 needs talent. So
bummer.
Yep.
I mean, it's basically G4 in name alone at this point. Like, we don't know who's doing, or we do know. I don't know. I can't remember the details. We don't know what this is actually going to be. Like, is it on TV? Is it just a website? Is it a Twitch show? Is it a YouTube channel? Is it a? I don't know.
I thought they had indicated.
Quibi, thanks.
I thought they had indicated that that it was a website thing, but I could be wrong.
Probably. But even then, websites are a lot. So what kind of website is it? Is it Blazeball? Is Blazeball viral marketing for G4?
God. I will say, if you click the link that's in that post, it does lead you to you're supposed to submit audition tapes and then upload them to Twitter, Instagram, or the Reddit thread that link goes to. Not a website, r/G4TV, or you can email them to crazyadam@g4tv.com. So
I don't know.
It's just fucking garbage. Anyway, we can move on. I don't want to give it a ton of air.
No, we don't have to talk about it.
There's something appealing, like nostalgic, about that 4.3 low quality video of Adam Sessler, and just like wow, that looks like old X-Play. That's great. But also, God damn it, Adam Sessler, stop being a piece of shit right now.
And I think also, if you look critically at some of that stuff from X-Play, it wasn't. I don't know. I saw
it doesn't hold up.
Yeah,
there's some problematic stuff in there.
Like I saw worked on Falcon Age. Really, really great guy. Trying to remember his name. I can't remember it, but one of the developers on Falcon Age, who's really, really great, showed a clip where they were talking about how Monday Night Combat, like the art looked like a cheap Malaysian knockoff, and they were like, hey, they're amazing Malaysian artists. This sucked. This sucked then. This is not a like, well, back in the 20s, you had to accept this about me. This isn't that situation. This was not that long ago. And that stuff like fucking sucked.
There is, maybe he didn't write the review, but he did voice act it for, he did do the read for the show. So there's levels to all this stuff. But the fact that it even got out there at all is just deplorable.
Yeah.
Anyways, we don't have to talk about that shit.
Yeah. We can also, do you want to knock out the other piece of shit people news quicker?
Yeah, sure. Let's just
I missed this whole thing. I missed this bit. So last week we talked about Lab Zero, the developers behind Skullgirls and Indivisible, mass exodus of talent from the studio because of the creative director.
Yeah, Mike Z.
Mike Z, who was, quote, a giant piece of shit.
I think that's how we put it last week as well. Yeah. Mike Zaymont, giant piece of shit.
It apparently has laid off all staff from the studio after basically all their development partners cut ties with them.
This is like a temper tantrum move.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have a studio at that point?
Exactly.
I guess you technically still have like a corporation and can hire new people and have a new employees, but is anyone going to want to work with this guy?
No.
I bet there are people who would want to work with this guy.
Oh yeah, sure.
But yeah.
I don't know if we have to say anything about it other than that's profoundly
That just
shitty.
sucks. It's just very childish.
Yeah.
And yeah, like so many people left specifically because he is so toxic and made such a terrible work environment. And then, you know, rather than respond to the criticism, what you do is you lay off the entire staff.
You take your ball and you go home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like so of whatever percentage remaining of staff that were like, okay, well, we're not going to quit. We'll see this through. And then you just lay them off.
I need health insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Profoundly shitty.
Well,
and hopefully we'll never hear about him again.
Hopefully,
ideally,
but
yeah, ideally.
You know, we're gonna anyway.
He'll probably get funding from like some of the shitty, I don't even want to name any of them, shitty righty game criticism and publications out there to do something stupid.
Yeah. Well, we'll jump into what is Alex just sent a Crazy Frog Twitter to our group chat.
He's back.
Hey y'all, back from my nap. Wait, was that what? How long has Crazy Frog been asleep?
Crazy Frog joined Twitter in April 2020, so this is bullshit.
Oh, this is bullshit. Was this some Mr. Peanut's dead shenanigans? Whatever.
I don't even know if this is a real brand account or not, or just something someone made.
All right.
I think it is a brand account.
This is garbage.
God.
Anyway.
God, the replies are really aggressive in that.
I have not looked.
I mean, I didn't look on purpose. I just opened the tweet, and one of the first ones.
Wow. Yeah. That Shadow the Hedgehog one?
Yes. That's the one I was looking at.
All right. Well. Yeah. Okay.
In other news.
I mean, hey, the Shadow's not wrong. Yeah, well, you know what? I was going to talk about Nintendo, but we got one more news story that should be a quick one. And then we'll get to the Nintendo shenanigans. The Witcher 3, CD Projekt Red has come out and said the best game of all time will be getting a PS5 and Xbox Series X and PC upgrade treatment with like ray tracing and loading times and all sorts of goodness, thanks to the power of the new consoles. And how much will this cost you, you're asking? This game's like 5 years old. There's no way they can give it away for free, right?
I mean, Control came out last year, and they're forcing you to buy an entire new game for that. So at least $60.
They are literally holding you at gunpoint and requiring everyone who owns Control to buy a new copy for the new consoles at $40.
It's immersive. Do you take the bullet from the operator's service weapon or the whatever? That's why they're doing it. I mean, it's part of the story.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So your wallet.
So $40, right, Andre? For The Witcher.
Try again. I'll give you three guesses. $40 is your first guess. That's wrong.
69.
That's a nice number. I would pay $69 for The Witcher 3 again, but no.
I don't know.
They're giving it's like $20 upgrade pass.
Oh, $20. Okay, so if owners of the game, you pay $20, you get all the nice
seems
new.
Reasonable, right?
CD Projekt Red spits in your face and tells you no, it will be free for everyone who owns the game.
It's really good
on PC.
I think it's cool.
Yeah. CD Projekt Red, plenty of problems. I want to be clear. There are a lot of problems with that company, but they do right.
They support their games well.
Bought their games. They support their games well. Yes.
And I think it's smart because I think it's basically like it allows The Witcher 3 to be a sandbox for them to work on all this stuff with a game that's already very stable and has people they know people like. So I think there's benefit to them too in using it as sort of that kind of a testing bed and then pushing those out to the people who own the game. Yeah.
And a lot of people like to compare it to Skyrim, justly or unjustly. And Skyrim is notable for being brought to every platform in the world. But charging you brand new for every single time.
Yeah. And people buy it.
So, I'll say The Witcher 3 was not offered for free on Switch if you owned it on other platforms. Like
what, they do Skyrim?
No, but I'm saying the Skyrim as I've followed it, like if you bought Skyrim on PC, other than paying for the DLC, you don't have to pay for the like visual upgrades that they've done to it over the years. It's just they put it out on new platforms and you have to buy it on new platforms. And certainly like it came out on PS3, and then when it came out on PS4, you had to buy it again for sure. But Witcher didn't really have that.
I would have to buy the Skyrim Special Edition on Steam with the remastered art and stuff.
Well, there you go. Never mind. I stand corrected.
I guess I bought it as a physical thing, but it was a Steam key. So
I could swear I have the Skyrim Special Edition and never paid for an upgrade, but I could be wrong. I mean, and it also is it doesn't really matter that much either.
I bought it on discount at Toys R Us because I had my employee discount. But anyway,
Witcher 3 is great.
Witcher 3 is great. It's my favorite game, and it's sick that they're doing all that upgrade work for, get it running well on the consoles and even better on PC. That's awesome.
Did they ever announce if Cyberpunk is, because that's coming in
free
PS4,
upgrade
right?
to next gen, free upgrade to next gen stuff? They have not said when it'll come to PS4. It is implied. So I believe it is day and date. No, wait, am I thinking of a different game? I'm thinking of Yakuza. It is coming to the next gen consoles, but they have not given a specific time frame.
They've confirmed that it's going to be free. Like you don't have to buy it again.
Yeah, it's free update to the next consoles.
I couldn't recall if they actually said that explicitly.
Yeah, they did.
Cool.
I think part of the reason they're bothering to do this with The Witcher 3 is because it has continued to sell so well, like over time, and especially with the Netflix series this year, it gave it a whole new lease on life.
This year,
I think
it was the end of last year. It was like December last year, I think, but I could be wrong. I think this also, they do this with The Witcher 3, and then they get to test December they get to test the entire rollout of this process with a game that is beloved and deserves it, but also if they roll it out and it breaks or something, or it's fucked up, or they have issues, people aren't going to like melt down over The Witcher 3. Some people will, because some people always do, but it's not going to be it's going to be more of a like, wow, that's messed up. Whereas if they were to fuck it up with rolling it out for Cyberpunk, a new game, I think it would cause a lot more backlash.
I don't know that they've given any indication on when this is coming out. I think it might not be till like next year, and Cyberpunk could very well hit before that, and it could just be a thing like, well, we're doing all this work to Cyberpunk. It's like the engine for Witcher 3 and the engine for Cyberpunk are similar, or are basically the same, so it's trivial to do this work for Witcher. I don't know. Maybe I'm not a developer.
Either way, it's really consumer friendly, and
it's
like
nice
said,
to see.
Despite any issues that CD Projekt Red does have, it's a good move.
They support the game as well.
I think I'm not excusing them or trying to dismiss the issues that they have, but I think if you look at the issues that major video game companies have had over the last, let's say, year, CD Projekt is one of those companies, and not at the top of the list for me in companies that I have the most issues with. I think there are some Rockstars and some 2Ks and some Ubisofts and some Riot Games and that are kind of higher on that list for me.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Now, finally, the moment you've all been waiting for. It's time for a birthday, y'all. It's time for Mario's 35th birthday.
For my next birthday, you're only going to be able to speak to me for a month, and then who knows if you'll ever talk to me again.
It's actually, I guess it's the anniversary, but from starting was the 18th of the big announcement here was from September 18th or so until the end of fiscal quarter, the end of fiscal year 2020, March 31st, 2020, you can buy Super Mario 3D All-Stars for the Nintendo Switch, which is Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy for your Nintendo Switch system. What the fuck?
I'm real on the edge of whether I'm even going to buy this thing. Like, this is...
I don't even really like Mario that much. Like, I played Odyssey, and I'm like, you know what?
I'm with you,
but I like this.
I like Super Mario 64 a lot. That's the thing. Okay. I know I like that game nostalgia. A lot.
Yeah,
it probably is. Yeah,
that's the first game I 100%ed.
Yep, same. I think same anyway. But but I mean, a lot of it is nostalgia, I'm sure.
Yeah.
A lot of my interest in the Tony Hawk collection is related to nostalgia.
Sure. Yeah.
I think Tony Hawk, obviously the remaster they've done there is really good, and I think it will be. I don't think that the Super Mario 3D All Stars will be the same kind of thing. But
what, you don't want up-resed blurry N64 textures?
Made in Unreal.
I just, when you look at all of the angles of this announcement from a business perspective, like this whole direct, I was just like, man, I think I fucking hate this company.
Yeah, I mean, like, on one hand, I got it. Like, the other things they announced were what? The Game & Watch.
The Game & Watch, the Game & Mario.
Yeah. Super Mario Bros. 35. Wait, I'm just trying to think of the things that end in March 31st.
And then I think they've got like that car 35. Thing, but that's not, That's not getting cut off. And then they had like the stuff at like Nintendo World or what are the stores? The physical
it's
stores?
like merch. It's just
Nintendo Land or whatever.
And like if I think of it like merch that is specifically for the anniversary, saying, okay, this cuts off at March 31st, that makes sense. And if they are treating this stuff like that, it quote unquote makes sense, but it's also profoundly stupid and kind of shitty.
Yeah.
And like, it's very easy to be cynical about it.
I think when it comes to physical goods, of course, there's production. Right? You're not going to make the stuff. People have to buy the stuff for it to make sense for you to continue to produce it. So I think it's fine to say we're making 10 million of these Game & Marios, and then after that they're gone. That's whatever. That's just the way it works.
Like think of like Disneyland, right? If you go to their whatever it was, their 50th or 75th birthday, and they have like the golden Mickey ears that you can only get during that year.
Totally.
Like that makes some sense. Like,
totally.
If you missed out on it, you missed out on it. That sucks.
And you can buy it still. You just will pay a lot of money for it from someone who did purchase it. I mean, there's always that stuff always is available in reseller markets.
Yes, 100%. But I think the thing that y'all are getting hung up on, and that I agree with, is that this is a digital product.
I mean,
yeah, there's the physical thing, which is like the collection, but then also like that makes sense. Like, oh, you're doing a limited run of the physical of the collection. That's fine. But then people went, wait, the digital version of this 3D All-Stars thing is also limited.
That's the thing. Like Super Mario 35, the Tetris 9090 kind of thing, that being limited.
The Battle Royale.
That's okay, sure. It's 35. It's for the 35th anniversary. Okay, fine.
I think that sucks too.
I do too. But like I can get it. But Super Mario 3D All-Stars is not labeled as a 35th anniversary thing. It's just a collection.
So the thing I've seen going around that is not, I have not seen anyone verify. I was in a Facebook thread and someone said that, I was like, have you seen it confirmed? Because I've seen the rumor, but I haven't seen it confirmed. And the thing they sent me was their response was an article saying you don't have to use motion controls with Super Mario Galaxy.
Nobody.
And
I know what you're going to say. Nobody knows
here.
This is all speculation.
So the people keep saying and not like citing their source that supposedly like the Japanese eShop said it, that these games will be available like separately, not in a bundle, and probably like marked up because the bundle is 60 for the 3 games. Maybe they'll be like 30 per game.
They will charge you $40 for those games.
Probably.
So,
IMO.
Funny story. I'm looking at Nintendo's official press release for all of this, and I'd like to read you a select quote.
Okay.
A limited production of Super Mario 3D All-Stars launches exclusively for the Nintendo Switch family of systems on September 18th, and here's the fun part, and will be available until approximately March 31st, 2021. What does approximately mean?
If they don't run out of stock, like of the physical.
For the physical, sure. If it's the limited production, sure.
The issue is I fully think that they will do that thing that people are speculating about for sure. And I think they will charge you $40 for each of those games.
That's
the issue though,
way too much.
It is, but it's Nintendo. So, but this is the thing. This is why
they'll charge anything.
This is why I'm so fucking pissed off about this whole thing. And I'm pissed off at anyway, they're also, as part of this, they have Super Mario 3D World Plus, right? Which is like a port of the Wii U version with some extra stuff on the end.
Bowser's
They're charging $60. That's going to be a $60 product.
Mario Kart was a $60 game.
Yes, like and that sucked too.
Yeah, that game.
Why are we gonna keep? Why do we keep doing this without pointing out that it sucks?
It sucks. Yeah.
The tweet that I keep seeing from people is like, well, it sucks, but it's Nintendo. I wouldn't do this for anyone but Nintendo. And it's like, we got to stop doing this for Nintendo. Come on. This is bullshit.
Yeah,
I'm not telling anybody what to buy. I may end up buying some of this stuff myself, but
I think we've talked about, I think I've said these exact words on this podcast before, where Nintendo's marketing strategy never makes sense to me, where they just kind of bumble into successes like inside of themselves.
They just have such an aggressive fan base that will basically give them a pass on anything that they do. It feels like
100%.
I think if
valid, yeah.
if Sony announced that, like, I don't know, the Killzone games, the 3 Killzone games were coming to, and obviously there's not the pedigree and the history there with them, but if the 3 Killzone games
dare
were
you,
to
sir,
to PS5 and they were charging $60 for those 3 games and it was only available for a limited time, people would be like, this is fucking stupid, and it wouldn't even be a consideration. Like, everyone would just shit on it, and it would be a PR disaster for them. But with Nintendo, people are like justifying it and writing it off in a lot of places because there's just that fan base for them, and there's always the like, well, it sucks, but, and it's like, buy what you want to buy. I buy stuff that
you're right
from companies that I don't agree with, but
it sucks. But
let's be honest. Let's say it sucks butt and say that Nintendo is like almost is approaching Disney levels of the bullshit 100%. That they pull. Because my concern with these, I think they will make these games available again in the future. I don't think it's going to be on April 1st. You can buy them all separately for $40 a piece. It's going to be some bullshit like next August. They're going to be like, if you subscribe to Nintendo Online, you can purchase Super Mario 64 for $40, or you can
with a special N64 Joy-Con attachment.
Exactly. It's going to be that kind of thing. And then maybe in 2022, when the Switch Pro launches, they'll be like, and if you buy this bundle, it comes with Super Mario Galaxy. It's going to be that kind of thing where they'll put these games back out over time, but they're not going to do it in a way that is, they're going to do it in the least consumer friendly way possible. And it's just, it's, I don't understand how anyone isn't cynical about them anymore.
I do want to say I'm looking at the Japanese eShop page for the game right now, and it doesn't say anything about them being available later separately. No, I don't know where this rumor started or how, or
I think people are willing it into existence.
Answer. Yeah, Nintendo, like, I don't know if anyone's bothered to ask Nintendo or if they're just not getting an answer. They probably won't, but
I think Nintendo wants you to think you'll never be able to get them again, so everyone rushes to buy this collection. If they're smart and I mean smart from a business perspective, I think this would be ultra shitty. But if they want to milk people for money, the smart thing would be not to put out Super Mario 64 again, and instead release a remastered version of it with new visuals, but the same level geometry that you can switch back and forth between the old visuals and the new visuals, and charge $60 for that next November, because people will buy that and then they've bought the game fucking twice in the span of a year. That's what I would do if I were a cynical suit at Nintendo.
And they eventually add Super Mario ODST and Mario Reach.
I mean, at least with the Master Chief Collection,
Mario Galaxy 2.
The Master Chief Collection was originally designed to be an all-encompassing thing, and then it fucking sucked on a technical level. So the piecemeal nature of it has been more of a, we made something garbage and have been rebuilding it. And if anything, at this point, it's pretty impressive what it is, because it's really good now. And it wasn't, and it's wild that they stuck with it and made it into a really good package.
I can't imagine the goodwill that would have been lost.
I mean, they should.
The public.
They should have done it. It was. I'm not trying to give them a cookie. Like, they needed to do that. It was the responsible and correct thing to do.
It was the only way forward.
Yes, but also this just reads to me as like, man, fuck this. And like, I've never played 3D World, and I think I might enjoy it, and I would be interested in playing it. But I came to the decision this week where I was just like, I'm not paying $60 for that. I'm not paying $60 for another Wii U game. Yeah. Like, fuck you.
All of this being said, the little Game & Watch thing is cool.
That's the thing I'm most interested in buying out of all this, and the thing I feel the least bad about.
It's $50. That's kind of expensive for one game, but
you can still buy those damn Nintendo tickets on the Japanese eShop. Like Nintendo the 2 tickets for like $100 for $100. 2 tickets for $100.
You can't get that here anymore.
No, you can get it in Japan though.
Huh. Well, that was an interesting thing. Sorry.
There was also
it was a good idea, and they
they just dropped it.
They also had the Mario Kart thing. The Mario Kart thing was cool.
For people who have a living room or a house with hardwood floors and no sunken living rooms or anything like that, you can buy an RC car with a camera on it that over Wi-Fi connects to your Switch, and you have like an AR racing track thing, which I don't know, sounds neat.
I think that thing is going to kind of suck in practice when I think a lot of adults are going to buy it and be like, I know this is a kid's toy, but which I've been that person, so I'm not judging that. But they're going to get it and go like, this isn't as good as playing Mario Kart.
Oh, no, of course not.
I think it's cool for the very small subset of people, but I will point out that the cards cost $100 each, which of course they do, but
like it's like, I know you gotta like have the game or whatever, like the software with it, but then like it seems like you should be able to buy the car like separately from the software, so you can get like a cheaper car to like sell more of them. But
they won't do that.
I know.
I don't know that I think it's a question of, I don't think the software is any part of that cost. I think you're paying for the car pretty much
maybe
exclusively. Like that software does not look particularly complex.
I mean, it's AR stuff and it's a
IoT
racing thing. Like,
IoT stuff, which can be tough.
Let me rephrase.
It's like what's the like the Labo stuff? Like, you have to buy like the starter pack that has like the game, so that's like really expensive because it comes with the cardboard and the game, and then you can buy other packs of the Labo stuff out the game for cheap.
The contrast that I'm more trying to draw, I certainly think that the tech is impressive and probably difficult to develop, so not taking anything away from the developers. I guess what I'm saying more is from a content perspective, I don't think that game is chocked full of like, it's not like you're buying a copy of Mario Kart and also this card to go with it. The software is going to be pretty thin, I think, from what's on that cartridge. So my point is more, you're paying for the technology, which means that it doesn't matter if they wouldn't necessarily knock off $20 and not include the game cart. Like I don't think you're paying an extra $20 for the cartridge. You're paying $100 for the package, the technology.
Yeah,
that's fair. Like, I mean, if you
put a camera on that car and like,
exactly,
they look good.
If you went out and bought just Spyro and not the full Skylanders thing, you know what I mean?
We just wouldn't.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
okay. I think.
Fine.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's fine. This is like kind of what I've been saying about like the Nintendo Direct situation this year, though, is Nintendo can drop whatever they want, whenever they want for their first party stuff, and it like they can do it whenever, because they could have said, and this Mario thing is available today, and people would have lost their mind and they would have all bought it, and there would have been very little discussion of, hey, it's kind of fucked up that this thing is like on sale for a limited time.
At least people are talking about it on any level,
Yeah. I mean, because there is this gap, like a 2-week gap or week and a half gap before it comes out. The people are going, hey, wait a minute, this seems weird.
They've also just muddied the messaging too. Like on the store page, it said that you would have to purchase for the collection. You'd have to purchase Joy-Con separately to play it on Switch Lite or to play Galaxy on Switch Lite. They may have fixed it, but
it's to play with the motion controls
Yeah,
because you can play without motion controls.
Right. But they didn't make that clear on the store page.
Yeah.
That when they first listed it, they later clarified that, and you can use the touchscreen. But they did make it sound like it does not run in handheld mode on the store page initially.
Yeah, because you can play with the Pro controller.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
It's all muddy and weird, and I'm kind of all the console manufacturers are making me in different ways go, maybe I do just want to upgrade my PC forever and say fuck this and just play PC games.
Yeah.
Not that the PC doesn't have its share of controversies at times, but
just give me Metroid 4 or Bayonetta 3, and then I can rid myself of this awful system.
Yeah.
Like I just want to play those games. And it's just I can not think about the Switch ever again.
I can't think of the last Nintendo exclusive that I really super friggin' adored. Like I liked Fire Emblem enough.
It was Breath of the Wild for me, really.
I didn't really like Breath of the Wild that much.
Yeah.
I appreciated it. I just didn't really enjoy it.
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't finish it for what it's worth, but
didn't like Odyssey.
In hindsight, at the time I thought it was charming, but looking back at it, I would never boot it again. I don't think
it's fine, but it's like thinking back on Odyssey, that was like my first full Mario game, and that makes me go, I don't think I want to play this, 3D All-Stars collection. Yeah. But then I also said the Avengers beta was a steaming pile of doo-doo, and then I bought the game, like this $70 version, to play it 3 days early. So who the fuck am I to say?
Yeah.
But like, I guess Ring Fit technically I thought was cool. But
Ring Fit for me, initially I thought it was awesome, but because of the lack of accessibility and customization options that are there, I think it kills the whole package for me. So it's basically worthless in my opinion.
I think that is a very early criticism we had of it as well. But
yeah.
Like Link's Awakening, Andre, you didn't like that.
Oh no, I thought that was terrible.
We all fell off of Mario Maker 2.
Yep.
Yeah,
fast.
It was fine, but I guess I'm just not a Mario person.
Smash Bros. Ultimate.
I like Smash Bros, but I don't like check in on it.
I like it, but I don't think I don't love it.
Animal Crossing, anybody?
Well, I mean, we're also talking about games that there's two people on this podcast that are not here today that are the complete 180 of.
Hey,
what we're
if they were true Nintendo fans, they would have been here.
I don't want to pick on.
For what it's worth, it sounds like Origami King is pretty good. So I haven't played it.
It sounds
the writing is really good.
Yeah.
Everything else is like the writing and the art is nice. Playing it is
Yeah.
Like I haven't touched that game in like over a month just because it's
Yeah. I just think they're and I want to separate too, like opinions about the games that they make. Like I was just very disappointed in Fire Emblem, for example, but the difference is in opinions about the games that they make are one thing, and I respect people who say no, I love Fire Emblem even if I thought it was not very good. And that's a critical conversation I'm willing to have, and like I don't have like I have tons of respect for that. What bothers me more than that is the people who do not look at their business decisions and say, wow, I'm being fucked right now, this sucks. If you go through it, it's fine. I mean, I'm a Disney Plus subscriber. Disney does this more than any company on earth. So I'm not saying there's something wrong with you if you still buy the product. But there is always this like justification that happens around Nintendo stuff from the fan base that I think is like, you're getting manipulated here into this stuff. And we all do it sometimes with certain things. It just seems like the way that it's so consistent every time Nintendo does almost anything, it's like kind of shitty anymore. Like the only non-shitty moves this year were Animal Crossing and Paper Mario from a like, hey, these are new games and it's fair to charge $60 for these brand new video games. But like putting out Pikmin 3 again for $60, and I see people earnestly saying that that's like great and they're happy about it. Like, what?
I mean, a lot of people. I think where a big part of that comes from is that people, like, especially with the Wii U, did not play the games on the, did not buy a Wii U, did not play a Wii U. So there isn't that connection of like, this is an old game. It just feels like a brand new game. So $60 doesn't seem that unreasonable. I see where you're coming from, though. I just think
if they put out Uncharted 4 on PS5 and charge $60 for it again, I think people would be like, wow, this fucking sucks, in a way that is a lot more honest than I tend to see with a lot of that Nintendo stuff.
Sure, but there's also no, like, you will presumably be able to play Uncharted 4 on PS5.
Yeah.
No way to get these games.
Not a direct parallel.
Yeah. There's no way to get these games.
Well, I mean,
it's a hostage situation, but
look at Persona 4 Golden. That was $20.
Exactly. No, that's an next example of how you do it right.
Was that
right?
$20 at launch? Oh, you mean on PC?
No, it was like $50 when it came out on Vita.
On Vita, it was like 50, but now it's like 20. It's like
that was also perfect. There was a lot of added content there, but
if Nintendo, and I even think when they put it out on Vita, that's a different story to me in a lot of ways. But regardless of that, like, if they were saying that Pikmin 3 was coming to the eShop for like $25 or something, I'd be like, sure, whatever. I mean, you ported it and that's fine. I'm not saying don't charge for your games, but when you do something like add a few hours of additional content on the end of a game like Super Mario World 3 or Super Mario 3D World 3 or whatever it's called, charge $60 for it. Yeah, Super Mario 3D World. Charge $60 for it. It's
Bowser's
like
Fury.
And we don't know what Bowser's Fury is. Maybe that's a whole service game or something, but
a loot-based Mario game.
I'm very cynical about the way that they remonetize this stuff again and again and again and charge for it. I mean, it's like the Control thing almost, except that I guess it's fresher for people because there's a direct path from PS4 to PS5, and there isn't a direct path from Wii U to Switch. But if we are, and we should be, shitting on 505 for doing this with Control because it sucks, I think that Nintendo should get the same kind of criticism when they do this crap. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all we got to say about Nintendo this week. And I think we're gonna come in well below 3 hours this week.
Wow.
No, man, let's go back to the Avengers. So tell me all about... No, just kidding.
I can talk about
Finish that thought. Finish that thought, Alex.
Tell me all about Nat. That's an Avenger, right?
Well, she
Natasha Romanoff.
Oh, sorry.
Romanova, actually, in they call her Romanoff in the MCU, but her name is Romanova in a lot of comic books. It's weird. I have not read a lot of Black Widow comics. I just read a run of Black Widow comics before Avengers came out. But yeah, I mean, she's awesome. She has her ult. She takes out like a staff, and it's like an electrically charged staff. And she has like a stun dart. She has guns. That's the big thing. She just has guns. There's a boss fight. There's a she does have a butt.
I was watching Captain America run. I thought, you know what? That's America's ass.
They modeled his America's ass fairly well in that game. Yeah. There's a range of butt types, and I think in a game where you have to stare at the butts for like hundreds of hours as you grind out content, I appreciate the range of butt types and the range of butt options available, because you really get a wide swing. With the exception of Kamala's butt, because she's a minor, and I would never look at a minor's butt in that way.
She's a minor?
Yeah, she's in high school.
Oh.
She's a teenager. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought
like 16-ish.
And they also don't do anything to sexualize her whatsoever, so don't worry about that.
And let's not start here.
Absolutely not. That's why I disclaimed that. The other butts, though, fun to look at.
All of the legally of age butts.
Yes, are
there is
great butts.
Speaking of, there is a mod for Crusader Kings 3 that makes everyone nude all the time except the minors.
Well, that's good.
On the Steam Workshop, it covers their genitals with like a fig leaf.
I really can't express enough. If you like The Sims, you really should check out Crusader Kings, because Crusader Kings 3 is very much like The Sims except it's like the social system. It gets rid of all of the like needs management and building and blows out the social stuff.
I've also heard it compared to 90 Day Fiance.
I don't know what that is.
Neither do I.
Reality show, reality TV.
I think it was Danny O'Dwyer that said it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That sounds like Danny O'Dwyer. Well,
he knows about a lot of weird stuff.
Anyways, we don't have to talk about this shit for half an hour.
We've got a precedent to set.
We might later.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for episode 137 of the Gaming Fix podcast on September 5th, 2020. I have been your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite chicken chaser. I feel like I might have used that one before, but oh well. I should have made a list.
If someone wants to go back and
through like 50 episodes,
go back and listen to every episode for us. Then I don't know. You can email us and maybe you can be on the show for a little bit.
You can email us at gaming@fix.space, or you can follow me on Twitter at Coolslaw, COOLSL4W. Pat, where can people find you?
You can find me at PJC Plays, and we'll probably stream something this weekend, either tonight or more than likely tomorrow. Not sure what that'll be. Might be more Flight Sim, might be some Avengers grinding. I don't know.
Okay, and Alex.
You can find me just skating through the warehouse. You know.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe a variety show, like some Tony, some Crusader Kings,
some Tony, some
more Tony.
And then we need another game with a Tony in it, so you can do Tony.
I'm sure I could find a Tony in Crusader Kings
game.
There's got to be. We could play Formula 1 2020, and I can play as Antonio Giovinazzi because he's probably still in the game, even though he's not driving. And then we could play Crusader Kings. There's got to be an Antonio somewhere in Italy that you could play as in Crusader Kings.
Okay, then if we're going with that rule, then there has to be something in Assassin's Creed.
But you can't play as any Tonys in Assassin's Creed.
Oh, playing as, fair.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you got to play as Tony.
The Tony hour is 15 minutes of games of 15 minutes a piece of 4 games that have where you play as a Tony.
Fair. Okay.
You are allowed to play games with character creators where you name yourself Tony. That is accepted.
Oh. Well,
but you got to say it's a me, Tony, every time you walk into a room.
What was the name of the main character in Vice City?
Oh, that
Tommy, isn't it?
Oh,
Tommy?
shit. It is Tommy. You're right.
Yeah.
Tommy Vercetti.
Yeah, Tommy Vercetti. You're right. Damn it.
If you could get a mod that puts a Microsoft Sam voice in, so they say Tony instead of Tommy, and
you could play the Rugrats games for PS1.
Oh, shit. Wait,
but that's Tommy.
Oh, you're right. What the fuck am I thinking? I got thrown off with Tommy. God,
yeah, it's tough. It's happens to the best.
God,
of us.
I just embarrassed myself. Cut this from the podcast.
Oh, no,
if you just search a video game Tony, it's just Tony Hawk.
Yeah, I did the same search.
What? Of course.
No,
you're allowed to play Anthem because they're all Iron Man in that game, so they're Tony.
All right.
Anyways.
Well, thanks for joining me, everybody. We'll be back next week with more discussion of the news, the games we're playing. Hopefully I'll have some delightful Crusader Kings or Wasteland stories to tell. I don't know. Star Renegades is out this week. Ooh, that's what I'm going to play.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
I want to
to
stream Crusader Kings with someone. That's what I want to do.
That sounds like the way to play it.
That'd be fun.
I just realized.
What?
50 Cent Blood on the Sand.
Tony Yayo.
Yeah, you're right. And isn't Tony Yayo in one of the Def Jam games? Maybe not.
Probably. Sorry.
That's great.
Sorry
No, that's
for
great.
derailing.
That's great. But you have to get to the part where you play as Tony Yayo, and you can only stream that sequence. None of the times when you play 50.
Play some Scarface.
Yeah.
Actually, wait, wasn't Tony Yayo who the co-op partner plays as? Isn't that how that works in that game?
Maybe.
So you have to get someone else to play so you can join their co-op game and only play as Tony and stream it from your perspective.
I hear that emulation of that game on PC is all right.
Oh, you can play that game online for sure. Don't even worry about it.
Well, we'll set up Tony.
Yep. I sent a podcast image to the group chat. So
Extra Life 2021. Tony.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me, Tony, and I'll see you next week, Tony.
Have a good one, Tony.
Tony out.
Bye.
Bye.